Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Ben White, Maximum Gravy, Austin Whitsitt, John Kays, DL Hill, Julian Jeremiah, Tommy Swagnuts, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Nealand, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show. I'm having to relearn all this stuff. So I did it all at college. Did lighting and sound and learned all about all this kind of stuff. And then, 20 years later? Maybe 25 years later, you just can't remember any of it.
Yeah, you gotta keep exercising something.
Yeah.
I had TV production in high school. It was one of my favorite classes.
Well, we'll see how it comes out. Hopefully it's good. Typically what I do when I fiddle with things is I get it about 90% right the very first go, and then go, I want it to be a bit better. So then I will spend probably a month making it progressively worse and not as good as the original guess to eventually make it 3 or 4% better than I guessed in the first instance after several months of faffing around. That's normally how it works. As a good example of that, about a year ago I got a subwoofer. So I got it, plonked it down at where I thought positionally was a good position, stuck it down, guessed what the roll-off should be, guessed what the bass management should be, and just listened to it. And it sounded great. Guessed the volume, guessed all of it. Just, I think it should be about this. I'll just go with that for now. Then a year later, after fiddling, faffing, moving it, changing crossover frequencies, changing the roll-off, changing the high shelf, changing the low shelf, changing everything, fiddling constantly. When I got back to, yeah, this is right, the only difference really was that I understood why it was right. But it was basic. I got it right the first time. But now I know why, which is handy. Whilst doing it, I learned one universal truth, which is that it doesn't seem to matter what genre you're covering in, especially on YouTube, because it's obviously open to anybody to make a video about anything. And there's no fact-checking, there's no person in charge that's going to tell you off for getting nonsense information out into the public. None of that is applicable, really. Yes, there are rules, but you know what I mean. Within reason, you can go on, make a video about something that you claim to know all about, and be completely wrong, but for the fact that there's a comment section to correct you, that's just an acceptable thing to do, right? Put a load of nonsense out there. And when I'm looking at audio stuff, trying to figure out, how to improve the quality of the sound on the show, I'll come across all sorts of bullshitters that just talk complete nonsense. Don't have the slightest idea what they're talking about, but they're still making a video and wasting your time when you get to the end of it and you go, that doesn't make any sense. I've attempted to apply what you've said and it didn't do what you said it would do. And then you watch.
Not only that.
Go on.
Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, I was just going to say there's just as many examples that are right that you can easily cross-check, and the bullshitters then expose themselves after you find out what's real. But many people will just stop there.
They expose themselves even at the end of the video. Like one time I was watching to make put a screen protector on correctly. Like I wanted to do it right because they're kind of expensive, right? And you only get like one shot, right? And I watched this video on putting a screen protector, and by the end of the video, she had all kinds of bubbles on her screen protector. And I'm like, why am I watching you for advice on putting a screen protector if you can't get it on the first time? So that was just an example I noticed. So that was pretty bizarre.
Yeah,
because the whole point of learning that
standards.
is to get it right the first time, right? And she didn't get it right the first time. She got it like very wrong the first time.
Yeah. In other words, have you got bubbles under your screen protector? Well, if you'd have watched me do it perfectly first time, you'd have known the technique. Watch me do it. You've got bubbles. Yeah? But you enjoy the video, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Hold on, but that always happens. When I'm going to show somebody something in my trade, a new guy, I'm trying to show him something, and of course, when you try to show him, you get it wrong or you mess up somehow. And you got to say, well, don't do it like this. But this is the way you do it.
I don't know what to tell you, Neil.
I don't know what to tell you either.
No, tell me nothing. That's what happens. You go to show somebody, all right, when you're cutting the tile, you describe it like this. Put one tile down, put the other one on top of it. Take your knife, slice it, and then you break it like this, and it doesn't break the right way. It happens. Not like this, but this is the way, this is the concept. Just happens, that's all.
Alrighty then. Well, thank you for that.
So cut the bubble screen, girl, a break is what I'm saying.
No. Absolutely not.
Why? It happens. I just gave you a perfect example how it happens. Can't tell me I'm not a professional at what I do. Just when I did it to show you, it went the wrong way. When I did it again, it worked.
So don't publish it. I understand that you could say, oh, well,
I agree with that.
The magic of television, yeah, you got it right on your first go, because you did actually, on that occasion, get the technique bang on, but you haven't shown the 3 attempts you made where you cracked the tile wrong. No, I didn't. I just showed the one where the technique was done correctly, so that you could try and copy it. Maybe I'll watch my own video back every time I smash the tiles incorrectly, because I didn't follow my own technique that I got right once. But at least I published the right one. Not the one where they all got broken. Just said, cut me a break. It's hard. It's like, yeah, that's why I'm watching a video about it.
No, but it does happen in life, even anything. We're cooking. My wife would be showing me something, and she's like, well, not like this. That's not how it happens, but I don't know what it is. Maybe you're trying too hard. Maybe you should just do it naturally. I don't know. Yeah, but you shouldn't have published a video. But I'm sure she knows what she's doing. She just didn't get it right that time.
Yeah, there's no, like I say, governing body that's going to force a retraction out of that person when they get it wrong. Watching one of, I was watching Arwin's video this morning, but before it started, I typically watch his advert. So I'll even normally, if I can be bothered, tell him in his chat and say the advert is for this. So he can get an idea if he's getting good quality mainstream adverts or not. That's the reason I tell him. Whether or not he cares, I don't know, but I'd like to know that information. Are you getting a decent ad for Samsung? Or are you getting an advert for the local church, which is a tuppenny halfpenny advert that, you know, doesn't do so well for me in terms of revenue? And I'd like to know. Either way, I was watching an ad, and it's this guy, I think the company was Nexus or something like that. But he's talking about conspiracy theories, so I wasn't really paying attention to the ads, as you can probably tell, until he said about conspiracy theories. It perked my interest up, and I'm like, what's he going to say next? Next words off his lips are, conspiracy theories fall apart when there's a threat of persecution or death attached. You tend to find that that's when the end of the conspiracy theory comes. And I thought, yeah, absolutely. And there's a good chance that many of our opponents who are involved in the conspiracy theory, that would be globe Earth, are quite concerned about that. You know, if I'm on the wrong side of a losing argument, but everyone's behind me, in the back of your mind, you still think, yeah, but at some point, that might all change. Yeah, I've got consensus behind me now, but that can change real quick, right?
Before you go on, you just hit a perfect point, Nathan. You are right 100%. That's why the gospel is so strong. Because it was considered a conspiracy, this Jesus raising from the dead, until people started getting crucified, killed, and they still did not change. They stood firm on the fact that this man Jesus rose from the dead. That's all I wanted to say.
Right, but they're always, the people on our opposing side, they don't necessarily want to prove their argument. In many instances, they're debunking their own argument, as we well know. What they want to do is shut us up. Well, why would they want to do that? Well, the reason is because we're shouting from the hilltops how wrong and fraudulent their claims are. So they might be on the end of some sort of persecution or punishment for it, should the tables turn and the consensus opinion from the normies, who they may kid themselves are like, oh yeah, they're all behind us, we've got consensus behind us. It's like, well, not really. You're actually anti-flat earthers, and the consensus doesn't necessarily agree with your anti-flat earth rhetoric. They're just blissfully unaware that the globe rhetoric they do hold near and dear, has been debunked. Now, for all of those normie people who, for the most part, if you ask them, they go, oh, what difference does it make? They're the kind of people that if you just tell them on the telly that it's not a globe anymore and you just start filtering in how it's flat, over time, they will just accept that as the norm in the same way, oh, right, we're not at war with Oceania anymore, they're our ally. People will just accept it. Now, what does that mean in terms of the anti-flat earthers? Well, it means suddenly they're the ones putting out this fraudulent information. Not only wrong in terms of how the world works, but wrong in terms of the original globe claim. You know, they're just wrong. Well, that might result in some sort of penalty. And I think they're probably quite scared of that. So what's the best line of approach if you can't actually overcome the argument and just shut... If you're right, and you just shut down your opponents real quick. It's easy, like we do here. Yeah, we shut down our opponents real quick because we're right. There's no endless babble about how they're right and we're not letting them talk. That's just an illusion they create after the fact. Oh, we're not getting our chance to speak, when we've put our claim forward really clearly and it's been pulled apart in less than 30 seconds. Then you get the hour and a half of going round and round in circles being told you don't understand, etc, etc. Because it's all they've got to do to leave the audience with a bit of confusion that thinks maybe they are right, maybe they weren't after the hour and a half of being told over and over again how their argument fails. Maybe they weren't being listened to. Because that's what they said at the end, just before they got kicked out after an hour and a half of non-stop chanting something that had been debunked over and over again. Well, you know, that like I say, is their hope that the audience member will think that. And even though 10% of people might be dumb as all hell, doesn't mean that the rest of them, the rest of the 80% of the normal people, can't recognise nonsense when they see it. Most people can. And because they're not committed to it in some sort of way that the anti-flat earthers are so committed to their shutting us down, let's not confuse it with proving a globe, because they don't do that. They want to shut us down so there's no chance that anybody will realise that they're out there punting nonsense. So best to shut down the people, shut down the messenger, stop the messenger telling everyone else how we're talking nonsense, because that might have some penalty attached at the end.
Correct. And you know something? I never really paid attention to how you used to say that, how when you're in an argument, they'll look for a way out until yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I was listening to the show and you were at it with a Kumu virus and 10th man said something and he turned to 10th. I was like, wow, Nathan's right.
Did you call my name?
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off really badly yesterday.
Yeah, but a Kumu virus did do that. He ignored everything Nathan was saying, but heard you say something and turned to you. So
yeah,
that is a tactic, boy.
That's like a pressure release for them because Nathan's got them over the barrel. It's just like Bob the Science Guy. What's the sextant for? Oh, it's an instrument to measure angles. All right, but it can't do triangulation. Well, it's over right there. You don't need to talk to that fool anymore.
But they will happily spend an hour chewing out your time and wasting it, talking complete nonsense and explaining how you don't understand the rhetoric that's been pulled apart when they've got a fundamental flaw in what they're claiming. They won't listen to the response, they'll fundy mute you while you try and correct them, because obviously it couldn't possibly be the case that a flat earther's correcting their nonsense they've got wrong.
Yeah, why would anyone continue to talk to a person who pretends to be a mechanic when they need their car fixed?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. So yesterday, right, it's like, this is our house, right? And in that analogy, there's a broken down car on the driveway. And someone comes along, a Kuma virus, and says, I can fix that for you. What you're doing with it's all wrong. And you go, okay, well, what should I do? Explain it to me. And they explain it to you, arse about face, completely incorrect. And you go, why are you even talking to me? Go away. They're like, no, I want you to sit here and tell me how stupid I am for the next 4 hours. No, just go away. You're an idiot. And what you said was incorrect. I know it's incorrect, and I've even spent my time now, wasting my time, correcting you, and you're now challenging me on my correction of your mistake, but you still think you're worthy of spending time here. Like, what the hell is going through your head?
It's a clear sign of needing attention.
Yeah, well, he hung himself with the day before with the it's not moving far enough, there's not enough distance, and then the next day going to a pendulum and don't move at all.
Travel. So you're saying it's not travelling a far enough distance. It's like, okay, so some distance
Correct.
is okay to say it hasn't got an effect to observe. Well, some distance would be definitely a case in the pendulum because it's not travelling over a vast distance. Travelling back and forth. Yeah, granted. Granted, the globe claims that's going to induce a Coriolis deviation because everything will induce it if it's not attached to the same reference frame, and a pendulum's claimed to be swinging in the inertial reference frame. Therefore, yeah, you'd expect to see the effect if Earth was turning underneath it. That is the globe claim. However, he, as a fundy muppet anti-flat earther, has told us, no, we won't see Earth turning underneath if it's not travelling a significant enough distance. Meanwhile, a pendulum will show it when it's not travelling any distance. It's like, well, that's a contradiction in terms, based on your argument from the anti-flat Earth perspective. And further to that, he just appealed to somebody on the flat Earth side who had given the incorrect globe rhetoric. Well, that guy on the flat Earth side said the globe says we won't experience Coriolis on the equator. It's like, so you're going to latch on to somebody in the crowd who's claiming something that isn't correct in terms of globe rhetoric, doesn't confirm whether or not you're saying there will be or won't be drift, but just confirms some non-point that doesn't make sense for anybody's argument. It's like, yeah, you'll flail all over the place to latch onto anything that might save you from the embarrassing position that you find yourself in without any proof of Earth spin.
And then what was the other one? With the illusion? What was trying to measure an illusion?
Describing Newton values, a force, to a not actual deviation. So if you're describing it in most simplistic terms, a roundabout and ball thrown over the top of the roundabout that's spinning, and you're observing the ball from the spinning roundabout, the ball that's travelled from the hand of one person on one side of the roundabout to the hand of the other person directly opposite, 180 degrees from their position, not attached to the roundabout. All they're doing is throwing a ball back and forth, back and forth, back and forth over the top of a roundabout. But from your position underneath, you see it seemed to take all sorts of curved, crazy paths because you're spinning beneath it. Well, that effect of it seeming to take a crazy curved path is the effect of Coriolis deflection. That's what the Coriolis force is. A not actual force that makes balls travelling straight seem to curve. Well, that seeming to curve was ascribed a Newton force value, i.e. how much it's going to push the ball in the curved path when it's not actually moving in a curved path. Now, at that point, I waited for him to concisely summarise it without any interruption, really clearly state his position, and then I laid into him, like as much as I could muster, because at that point you're demonstrably stupid, but you're here telling us, you don't understand. Well, how dare you, get out. I went back through that video, so it's a good show yesterday. I listened to it again, and then again, to decide what I was going to edit out of it, because I was like, I'm going to edit some of this out. There's got to be some juicy stuff in there. And what I ended up taking out was a conversation that actually took place much before Virus even got there, which will come out on Friday, about the end of the Earth. So you probably can't even recall that conversation that Arwen and I had with Sasha asking about where you'd get a radius, and it turning into how do you acquire the information for the limitation to the Earth itself. Where's that coming from? Can you remember that conversation?
I remember it.
That's the one I ended up trimming out. So of all that conversation with Virus, and I know there's people in the audience that are like, oh, it's really entertaining. It's like, well, when I go through the video, what I actually look for isn't the entertainment value, as much as that might annoy some people. I look for the education value. And it's like, of all that video, I might end up I probably will, because it's also worthy of videography. I'm a YouTuber at the end of the day. But my first pick will always be what's the most valuable in terms of the information, not the most entertaining. And when I reviewed the whole, whatever it was, 3.5 hours, at the end I was like, I think the best bit to pick first, to trim out and spend my valuable time editing, is going to be that little bit between Sasha, Arwin and myself, talking about basically 3 different rhetorics all at once. Infinite plane versus flat earth dome versus globe earth and finite land. And the conclusion at the end is none of them have any evidence to support them. The globe, already, we don't need to go through why the globe isn't real. We have no physical earth curve. There's no geometric tangent point, blah, blah, blah. So we can already strike through the globe in terms of its claim of finite land. So what's next? Well, there's the flat earth, anti-flat earth technically, but flat earth controlled opposition, which is to say we're either on a pizza pie flying up through sky vacuum with an edge that you can fall off, or contained within a dome with an ice wall limitation to the land itself, and the geography is defined by the amount of, as Alwyn put it, the amount of gas pressure, which is defined by a dome, giving us a limit to the air and the land. It's all just one big upturned fishbowl. Well, again, what's your evidence for that? I haven't seen... I've been shown pictures of a bit of ice, but to infer from those pictures of a bit of ice that are claimed to be on the bottom of a sphere, farcical to begin with, for all the reasons given, but I'm not going to accept that that's a, 74,000 mile in circumference ice wall around the perimeter of everything. I'm just not going to accept that. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon. Who's found an ice wall?
Well, exactly. What ice wall?
I agree.
So we don't know. Is the that's so often the case when you come to a conclusion about these things. There's plenty of stories about where we might be contained and how we might be contained, and normally they're geared towards there being a finite amount of land. Well, that's very advantageous to landowners, because if there's a limited amount of it, it's going to be going up in value. And what do we experience? Well, we experience our land going up in value constantly, and even if it drops in value, it immediately recovers.
That I would call the real estate of affairs.
That is the real estate of affairs.
But how come we just can't say we don't know? Because we don't know what the Earth is.
No, so we don't know its limits. We don't know if the entire paradigm has been created for that reason. We must have a finite amount of land. Because if there's more, then people can travel there and it doesn't cost them a dime. Whereas if they're here, on my land, they're giving me money for it.
Speaking of limits of land, can you go to Master B?
Sure. Hey, do you want the photo first?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got here from different channels that talk about when you're on the boat, the horizon, which they call Earth curve, by the way, blocks things. So they've got the geographical range based on 3959. And then the height of what you are above the water. Then they got the luminous range in the event that there's a lighthouse or something, if you're coastal navigation, So if you're navigating by the coast and there's a lighthouse or things that, throw off light, it gives you a table to go by. Let's just go to the table for a second. Tell me when you're next slide. Okay. Geographical range table. So it starts here at 5 feet, 1.5 meters. And distance is always in nautical miles, 2.6 nautical miles. I found one that said 1 foot, and then guess what it had? 1.2, just like the Black Swan, right? So this is the same math that's there in 3959. So he says at the bottom, example, determine the geographic visibility of an object with a height above water of 65 feet for the observer with a height of eye of 35 feet. So the lighthouse is 65 feet. The guy on the ship is at 35 feet. So you go to 65 feet on the chart, as you can see there, and it's at the bottom of the left there, it's 9.4 nautical miles. Then you go to the chart where it says 35 feet, and it's just before that, so that's 6.9 nautical miles. And to the right, you see you've entered those two numbers, and now your computed geographic visibility is 16.3 nautical miles. Your geographical range is obviously where Earth curve is. Go back to the original slide. So as we have on the first one here, a ship at the geographical range, but beyond the luminous range. Light is not visible, but the structure is visible by day. So obviously here, you got fog or weather blocking the luminous light, but once that goes away, it's daytime, you get to see that lighthouse. Okay, Earth curve is not bothering you here. So the next one is ship is within the luminous range, but beyond the geographical range. The lume of the light is visible, but not the light. So here you see the luminous light, but you can't see the lighthouse. Okay, because Earth curve is blocking it. Next one. Ship is within the luminous range and the geographical range. Light is visible, so everything's visible. So now you think about our argument with the black swan and them saying Earth curve is, horizon is not Earth curve. Well, it's opposite for navigation because the ship's captains know that the horizon is Earth curve and that's where the curve of the Earth is, supposedly. But it's all optical and we know it. It's devastating when you hear them show you the geographical range and they can't see anymore because Earth got in the way. And yet these anti-flat earthers are so beaten by the black swan, they can't admit to that.
They can't admit to anything, really.
Excellent.
Well, black swan shows that there is no geometric horizon. On any given day, you're going to see beyond what that table tells you, which means it's optical.
That's correct.
And this is where both parties need to come to an understanding.
The television has a lot of power, though, 10th man. A lot of power.
That's why they call it programming.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Brian's Logic, Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
Very well,
morning.
Neil. How are you, sir?
Very good to have you all. Any more niceties? Did you want to answer him, 10th?
I'm sorry. I just got back from getting tea. What did I miss?
Said, how are you?
No, I'm fine.
Hello.
Hey, Owen.
Hey, Arwen.
Good to have you. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
You're going to need R for that. Best answer.
We all
They're
see.
caught in between a black swan and an R value.
Did we all catch Mitchell from Australia's show yesterday?
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it?
It was. I got
great.
him the. You're going to need R for that late. So I missed. I wasn't paying attention. It didn't sink in when Adam said, which he did because I watched the show again. He needs it today. Obviously, I didn't get that. And then when he was doing it, the bit, I was like, that's what he needed those things for. So I send them off to him there and then. I'm like, oh, damn. That was a waste of effort because he didn't get to use them. But just basically all of the panel saying you're going to need R for that.
So my R went in vain?
And no, he said it'll be used again. He did respond to the message after the fact, but obviously his show had been done then.
No, that was a great. I mean, he had the flow yesterday when he was doing that show. He had some mojo.
I think all of his shows are like that. He did say that at the end, and I
Yeah.
picked up on him saying, "Oh, this is one of my best shows." I'm like, I don't know about that. All of your shows are like this. He's always
No
in front
content.
of the. Go on.
Yeah. Content-wise, his shows are always great because he prepares and takes time, and he's a good presenter. But yesterday's show, there was a flow to it, and he sensed it. I sensed it. I think that's why he commented on it.
Well, I also thought that that particular show was extra content rich with a lot of interesting little factoids put together. Right? So normally he's more like easy rolling and you just get beautiful views and response. This time he had like a lot of presentation happening and a lot of facts put together with that.
What's a
So-
factoid?
Yeah,
Well,
facts.
Not so much. I mean, yeah, definitely he had all the facts, but to take on over 30 objections and seamlessly go through each one and being astute and knowledgeable as he is about each of the subjects, it was fantastic.
Right. Talking about which, I thought that my show that I just finished was kind of like that as well. I did a really great show today. It treated so many things. I talked more about Flat Earth than I have in the combined last month.
Good for you, Alwyn.
Thanks. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
I was just going to say, I'm going to check it out.
Competition breeds success.
Well, it's the same. It's the same when you get a summary, and I say to you or Neil or Arvin says, "Man, Nathan, you just nailed it really good," and it just comes out naturally because you're basting in it every day. But sometimes it's a drudgery because you're dealing with an anti-flat earther. Another day you're dealing with one of us, and it's just a nice back and forth. And then the opportune time comes where the knowledge is there, the time invested on the subject matter has been emptied out, and all of a sudden you go on the rant. I wouldn't say it's a rant, it's more of a summary. And I say, well, that's a keeper. It's one of those shows for, Mitchell.
You know, you don't realize how much you learn. I know I'm speaking for myself. Until I'm not on YouTube and I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, wow, where did all this come from? Oh, only for like 4 years of listening to this. Just comes out.
Yeah, I almost said Mitchell was well rehearsed, but he wasn't well rehearsed. That was I didn't say it because it's the wrong words. Yes, he'd got organised. Yes, he'd got all of his ducks in a row and asked in advance for things that he needed. But he knows what he needs. He knows what he's going to say about what he got when he had it, and he just presented it. So it wasn't that he's like gone through the motions of saying what he's going to say. He said it before 100 times. Formatting it into a slick manner, yeah, that takes time, effort, and skill. But by the same token, he just knows his stuff. And no one picked up on the subtlety of what happened after we praised Mitchell a moment ago. Armin was like, yeah, but my show's also excellent. And yes, indeed, Arwen's Early Bird is excellent. But, obviously, Arwen's subtly picking up on the fact that there's like almost a new kid on the block. Not that Mitchell's in any way a new kid on the block, but you know what I'm driving at here, right? Mitchell's suddenly making a big impression, and Arwen's like, my show's good too.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. No, but I really appreciate his streams, and I am in the chats all the time.
I'm not going to start claiming it's crabs in a bucket or anything. You know, I'm not going to say you're trying to pull him down and don't go and see Mitchell. Come and see me. I'm much better. I'm not suggesting you're doing that, but by the same token, I am, because I'm saying, you know, the negative connotations. You've immediately absolved all of this, by the way, Arwin. So there's no dig attached. There would have been, depending on what you said in the last breath. But you're like, yeah, I'm very supportive, and that's how it should be. You know,
I didn't even take it that way from Marvin. I took it from Marvin that he had a similar type experience.
Exactly. I had a really good sleep this night. Very intense dreaming. It's suddenly like this beautiful sunny day again after it's been kind of gray for 3 days. And it's just, I was very inspired. And maybe it's the same flow of energy that Mitchell touched upon yesterday that I've touched today. I don't know.
Okay, well, that doesn't help me as much segue away from me suggesting people don't have the crabs in a bucket mentality of yanking each other down, rather building people up, which I'm pleased. I will use it as a segue because you've said exactly what I was going to say, just stole my thunder. But indeed, we should be building each other up. We're a very small community.
Listen, you step up your game.
Hey,
if you're a good show, you step up your game.
Hey, Brian.
Step it up.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was driving at, Neil. So I'm saying, yeah, maybe it'll kick you into gear, get you making thumbnails, etc., etc.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Tent. Hey, everybody.
But then it can have a bad effect, because when I'm talking to my son, sometimes the other day my wife had to say, Neil, you're not QE. So, you know, you have to be careful who you're dealing with.
Oh, did you start calling him a fundy muppet?
I was yelling at him, yeah.
Oh, right. I didn't expect the answer to be yes. I was being sarcastic.
Because it gets so frustrating sometimes, because he's smart and he understands, and I know he knows, but oh well. But my wife had to say, you're not QE.
Well, that was Earth curve question. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, you can need R for that too. You can need R for all these questions, except for that one where they only observe. And then you're still going to need it if they start guessing.
The show must go on, Tent.
I know. Just summarizing it. I'm getting my flow. Come on.
I might as well get that one out of the way then. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No evidence. No scientific evidence.
But the sheer... go on.
All right, thanks, Tent. I was going to say, is there any of those for anything they claim?
No.
In any part of their model?
Oh, right. Now with that qualifier, no.
Well, if they're going to claim scientific method for part of what they claim, then we're going to be fully within our rights to say you got to apply it to everything you claim.
There's nothing that's going to link back to heliocentric, claimed to be proof of a sphere, that has scientific validity attached. No, Brian.
Yeah, because, you know, that is, like, we're speaking about the natural world. natural science is about cause and effect. The scientific method establishes whether something is the cause of the effect. You know, that's what we've been talking about for 6 years, heading for 7. I mean, not one viable hypothesis from any of these people, for any of these claims.
And it's born out of experimentation, right, Brian?
Well, if you're going to claim something in the natural world, you have to be able to either prove it through scientific method, or you have to be able to admit that it's not something you can prove through scientific method. Like seeing the stars rotate above us and saying it's us rotating. That's not something you can put through scientific method.
Yeah, but they won't even speak to you if they know that you're a flat earther. Astrophysicists will not even talk to you.
I'm talking about everybody, everyone who believes in this, everyone who makes the claims, whether they are Joe Normal to astrophysicists, whoever. There's not one viable hypothesis, not anything. All they have ever produced is claims and calculations and nothing else.
So from the super chat, James Richards says, no hypothesis in any of those fields. Strictly pseudoscience, or better yet, quote unquote, story time. Right on. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Yeah, well, we got to the moon because the amount of gas that was purchased and used. No?
Well, they didn't even say purchase. They just said calculated. Do you know what I mean? That was Neil deGrasse Tyson, wasn't it?
Oh, they didn't even buy it?
Well, I didn't see a
that's
receipt.
a problem.
Well, the reason they don't talk about it is because someone knowledgeable will say, can I see your hypothesis? Can I see the scientific method that you went through to make such a claim? That's why they won't talk about it, because they never went through it.
Well, if you notice something that our opposition have been doing for 6 years is they always try to scattergun with claims because they never want to get held down to one scientifically. You know, not practically or scientifically, they never want to get held down to it because it's not something they can actually support. Practically, they can only ever show false equivalency. And when it comes to scientifically, they got nothing but calculations. So they got false equivalency for physical demonstration, or they've got calculation. They don't have an actual demonstration of their claim, or scientific evidence, or both to back any of their claims.
Yeah, but what do calculations prove?
It just says it only exists in the math. Right?
Well, yeah.
So then they prove math.
Well, it only exists in the math, but now you got to transfer that to reality. And if it can't transfer over to reality, well, that's a nice little problem you sketched out on a piece of paper, but it has nothing to do with the world I live in.
Right. Like, how are you going to keep up with the unicorn feed through the winter, given that they eat magical starfish? Now let's calculate how many magical starfish we need to keep the unicorn. What is it? A herd of unicorn? God only knows. A pride? Let's call it a pride. How are we going to keep the pride of unicorn going through the winter with the magical starfish? Let's calculate that. Now, when someone comes along and says, yeah, but where does that translate into reality? You go, well, it doesn't. Well, it's the same principle. It's not translatable into reality. Mathsing dark matter or gravity or any of the other nonsense stories that they come up with. Show us it in reality. Actually physically show it us. So we can do some physics with it. Oh, well, it's here in the maths. It's part of our prediction. And look, now we've observed this, it proves our prediction in the maths. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Do you know the way they're always asking for, every time they can't deal with something that one of us show them. I've personally dealt with this many, many times. If they can't debunk what you're showing practically, they'll start asking you for maths. Now, in my most recent video, doesn't matter what it's about, I gave some maths. So I added calculations of angular size changes of things, and at what distance something of that size would disappear. And I showed evidence that the closer your eyes are to the surface, to a horizontal surface, then the faster something will reach the 0.02 angular size limit of the human eye, and then go beyond that. No one addressed it. All I got was negative attacks, and I got way more dislikes than likes on the video. But one person did, and that person told me that there's a ship that he sees leave wherever he lives all the time, and this ship is 60 meters high, and that it disappears a quarter of the distance that it should disappear due to its angular size. So what that is there is I'm supposed to have an argument with him then about his claim of distance and size of ship. And we're supposed to have a calculation argument that he will win because he already has a story, right? That's based on a claim that's only just a story. But is he ever going to show me this and come up with all the details necessary, where he is, his location, his exact height above sea level, the ship, videoing the ship leave, show everything on ship tracker, go through all that? Is he going to do all that? Is he fuck? Sorry for the language. You know,
what is it going to prove anyway?
Well, yeah, but this is my point. They want maths and calculations for 6 years, and when you give it to them, what did they do? They make up some lie that, right, he made up a story where he could not lose. And part of his story, right, was that when the ship goes over the curve, right, that was part of his story, right? So his calculations are already involving a globe out, right? And this is something he's supposed to see all the time, like nearly every day. You know, is he ever going to support any of that with any actual physical evidence to back up his calculation? No. So the point I'm making is, when it gets to the point of giving them what they're asking for, all they can come up with is a lie and nothing to support it. Because he wanted me to have an argument with him about some calculations, and he knows he's going to win because he's already done the calculations that will make sure he'll win. But I want to see the video of his claim and all the details to it. Is he going to come up with that? No way. But he'll tell any amount of lies. Because that's what these people are. Scum.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence for distance to the sun, but I am interested in premature sycamore pollination in the north of England, though.
I just made that up, you know, when Fundy's
I know.
layout.
I know. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah, when you have some random claim that you've not made any claim about put to you by an anti-flat earther or glober, that would be to say, how do you prove star rotation on a flat earth? You're like, what are you talking about? I haven't got a claim that utilises star rotation to prove that the earth is flat. That is not a claim I'm making. So you can't do it then, Fundy, would normally be the response you get. You're like, I haven't made a claim about it. What's your claim? How do you claim star rotation when you affirm the consequent, assume you're on a sphere to begin with, and then say you've got antipodal positioning with two rotational points forming an axis because you've just assumed you travelled antipodal when going south? Yeah? How do you use stars to prove it? No, tell me how it works on a flat earth. So that's the kind of level of drongo that you're dealing with. So typically, what I used to do, I haven't done it for a while, you say, well, how do you prove premature sycamore pollination in the north of England on a globe? And they scratch their head, and suddenly they've just had the exact same scenario put back at them. A claim they haven't made, in fact, is completely made up. There's no such thing as premature sycamore pollination in the north of England on a globe. I just completely made it up. But yet they'll try and justify it on a globe because they're thick. They don't realise that their burden of proof has just literally been twisted into a new example and put back at them, albeit with something that I've literally made up on the spot, or had when I did the first time. The distance to the sun? Anybody?
No, nothing.
Well, I have been told in recent days, and I was told only, well, in recent times, I say, because I was told this only a while ago as well, that you can triangulate it if you have two different people in two different locations. You can determine its height above the flat Earth. Now, none of them were able to come up with how an angle gives you a vertical height, right? As opposed to just an angular size between the bottom of the sun and the horizon, and of that free space, the angular free space. But when it came to an actual vertical height, none of them, before they ever got to their BS calculation, none of them were able to give me, is this going to be in feet and inches, miles, what's it going to be in? How did you verify that, this is going to be what it's going to be? They don't have anything. But supposedly you can do that. So basically, if we wanted to do that, we could do it, is what they're saying. And then we could come up with some ad hoc calculation of the height that we choose to believe in. And then they could attack that and treat us like the fools we would be for coming up with such bullshit. Sorry.
Well, it's taking a principle that operates perfectly. So, for instance, triangulation, right? You're pointing your sextant at a star, and then you're getting a 90 degree to your feet with a line drawn between you and the GP of the star. Well, that forms a triangle. Well, it's not actually that much of a logical step to say, okay, why don't I just use that exact measurement to give me the height of the star? And then come up with a 3,500, whatever it is, height. The only problem is, that isn't a location that you can then get in your boat and go to. You can't then traverse that line of that triangle to confirm that that is actually the distance. Now, in terms of mapping, in terms of navigation, you will end up at where you need to be when you do this process. But you don't, in the process, need to infer the height of the star. You just follow the process and assume they're all at the same height, and then get the distance measurement to the GP of the star so you can get all the overlapping points to give you your fix and know where you are, to know where to go. It doesn't mean you need the height of the star in that, does it?
No, and if the star is at your zenith, let's say you start with it at your 90 degrees, right, directly above you, and then you move 20 degrees, you go out, move away from it, then it's at, you have a 70 degree angle to it. Then you could say, well, if I multiply the amount I'm away from it by the amount of 69 statute miles per degree, then it's this height. But then if I go another 30 degrees away from it, let's say in distance, so then it's not 70. Let's just say it's I'm at 40, like it's 50 degrees. Not 70 degrees or something like that. Then, if I calculate it then, with my distance, it's going to be higher. Do you know what I mean? You can't. You look, if that star is at your zenith, right, you have no idea what height that is. You move away from it, let's just say you move away from it 20 degrees worth of distance, right, at 69 statute miles a degree. Does that tell you what height that star is at? If you want, you can pretend that star is at such a height because you're only 20 degrees away from it. That makes it that height, right? Because the star is, let's say the star is 70 degrees high, 70 degrees above the horizon. So that makes the star blah, blah, blah multiplied by 69 miles. That's thousands of miles high. But what about when the star is at 20 degrees above the horizon, when you move really far away from it? What height is it then?
We got lower.
You know what I mean? Yeah, well, it's not the same height as it was when you thought it was before. Because, you know why? Because you have no idea what height it is. All you know is that when it's at your zenith, it's directly above your head. When you move away, it appears to get lower. That's the amount you know and nothing else, yeah, isn't it? Now, you can get another person in a different place, and they can pretend like you can pretend. You can both pretend together, right? And you can all pretend. And then what you do, if you want, you can use the AE map as well and make complete knobheads out of yourself. You know what I mean? Because that's what they want us to do.
Absolutely correct. Now, when we utilise a tool that has geographic implications by way of the axioms that you must accept to use the tool in the first instance, it's only going to go one way in terms of what we're using it for. That is to say, it's demonstrating a flat plane. It's utilising a flat plane by way of the fact that it uses straight lines. Now, you beautifully summarised this, Brian. I'm glad it started with a row because it really cemented it in all our brains when you got very frustrated about the fact that you take all optical aspects out of this measurement when you do the height correction. When you drop your line down to the ground, suddenly you're just dealing in geometry, right?
Yeah. Horizon dip correction. No more optics.
Yeah. So you've just got a straight line between you and the GP of the star, wherever it is, in geometric terms. Straight and flat. What's that? We've got to count for optics. No. That isn't what we're doing. We're doing the dip correction to make it purely geometric.
Yeah. That's the whole point of it. The whole point of it is that you're calculating a straight line distance along the surface of the Earth. And what's the best way to do that is to have the line at the surface of the Earth, isn't it? Not at your eyes, if you want to be precise. And the more they do that, the more precision they get. And the better the mariners and the more experienced they are, the better precision they get. But if they don't do that part, no matter how good they are, they'll be out. They might be in the ballpark, but they won't be precise.
Exactly. Factoring in the optics can be done, but the whole purpose of the corrections that you're making in terms of height correction, otherwise known as dip, is to take it further away from the optics and closer to the geometric. To the point where when you've made the correction, you're making it to make it a geometric perfect triangle.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's an absolute triangle with a flat base, assume flat base working along a flat surface. And, you have a line from underneath your boat, the water underneath your boat, to whatever, 2,000 miles to the GP. You have another line from that up to the star, and another line from the star to you as an angle. Or, sorry, back to where the line left underneath your boat. So the vertex goes of the angle goes from your eye line down to the water underneath your boat. And that gives you precision. If you don't do that, no matter how good you are, as I said, you won't have the same precision.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, I have seen...
Morning, fellas.
Sorry.
Hey, Chocolate.
Hey, Chocolate. I have seen absolutely no evidence of a reverse... what do they call them on bikes? The lights on the bikes? Were you on a push bike, on a cycle bike? Remember?
Reflector.
No, you remember the...
Reflectors.
No, not reflectors.
Spokes.
Remember the things...
Handlebars.
You push them onto the wheel and it turns a wheel. And it gives you power.
Dynamo.
Dynamos.
Hold on. Everyone be quiet. Hold on. Is it dynamo?
Yeah.
Well remembered now.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, because what they're speaking about is a reverse dynamo. It's the only time that we know about in history where electricity creates magnetism before magnetism creates electricity.
Well, that will generate a conversation.
That'll put a charge to it, that's for sure.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Before we go there, Nathan, can you go to Master B to the 29-second mark of this video to cover the dip correction? You don't have to play too much of it.
Or whose video is it?
It's somebody else's, but like you always do like 5 seconds or something, if you want to.
Have a little looky.
This is how fast YouTube is with Brave.
Damn you, adverts.
29-second mark.
By the what? 20 what?
29-second mark.
Next, you need to estimate your dip correction. This is simply the height from the sea level of the sextant during observations, or, if you're on land, the height from the ground to the sextant.
Got on A to ear. Perfect.
That's it.
Sorry if that
Ground to the section.
Sorry if that blasted your ears out in the audience.
Wasn't that bad. It was nice and loud and clear.
Did we get scientific evidence of gravity or what?
What's that?
No scientific evidence. What is gravity anyway? For years, I was told it's keeping me to the Earth. Otherwise, I would float away.
What, like gas does?
Yeah, maybe
Gas
that's it.
seems
I
to
would
do that.
become a gas.
You become weightless like gas.
Yep, gravity's what's keeping me grounded.
What about gas? Gas does that.
Can I
No,
pass
it
on that?
doesn't work with.
Gas is anti-gravity.
It doesn't work with gas, but yeah, he passes gas.
So no scientific evidence of gravity? No? Moving on? I've actually forgotten where we are in housekeeping. I've done it out of order completely. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No one in Discord?
Sent this screenshot twice. What's this all about?
Yeah, this is interesting. There's a chat going on with Sleeping Warrior and Virus. And I found this funny that Virus says you don't get the globe claims right. When he doesn't even get the globe claims right.
All right, it's just his projection that you wanted to show us.
That's what you call a real troll, isn't it? Just every day, same nonsense. Doesn't even know his own claims. But yet, he just wants to be all in our section every day. It's kind of funny.
He considers himself a mathematician. He considers himself highly educated, more than we are. We're dumb flat earthers to him. But he keeps getting embarrassed every day.
I think he's just an attention getter because he's here every day and he doesn't even represent his side.
Kent, come on, that's you want that attention? You look like a fool day in and day out. I don't see it any other way.
I don't want that attention.
No, but I'm saying he can't think that he looks good day in and day out. Because he don't.
But you get the attention.
Is this a coma virus they're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about virus.
Yeah, I heard. Listen, I think it was yesterday's show. He was saying that the radius line can be geodesic.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, that's a curved radius. Wow.
Yeah, that was one of his openers.
Where did he go after that? Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, but last week when you asked him, and I as well asked him, is the radius straight or curved? He said it was straight, so he flip flopped already.
Yep, he thinks by looking at stuff that makes it straight.
Yeah, but I mean, a curved radius, when someone goes that far,
but light bends.
Yep, light bends.
Yeah, but how can you go as far as a curved radius after that? Like, I don't know how you can talk to him after that. Like, it's like, okay then, I don't know what to say. Like that, it's a killer. Like I don't have any argument against that. For that, if you know what I mean. It's like a curved radius, right? Where can you go? You have to go into crazy land, don't you?
Yeah, that's when you leave him alone.
That's exactly where he's landed.
What was driving me nuts is that he couldn't figure out the difference between not much and zero. Because apparently he was telling us there's not much Coriolis at the equator, and then somebody else chimed in and said, well, the globe claims there's zero Coriolis at the equator, and he was like, look, see, that's the globe claim. But guy, you just told us it's not much and zero. are
Two different
different.
things. Yep.
I don't know if you realize that yet, but
My checking account.
Try to catch up.
Hey, chocolate. My checking account. There's not much in there.
and also zero.
And also zero at the same time.
What the fuck?
Yeah, if you got zero in your banking account, you're not going to say I don't have much in there. You're going to say I'm at zero.
And then the not much that he was telling us, then he's like, oh, let's figure it out. Well, how did you figure out it's not much?
What he was trying to do was trying to rope us into giving him a few parameters so he could turn it into our claim at some stage. So it's like, let's do it together. Because together it can be our claim. And whenever you say something that I want to latch onto, it'll be your claim. Because it's your thought experiment with a balloon, isn't it? No, it's not my thought experiment with a balloon. It's me asking you about your claim that Earth turns underneath and why it doesn't turn underneath a balloon. But that suddenly becomes my thought experiment for his claim, because they absolutely, this is the universal truth with anybody who's even slightly competent at arguing from a flat Earth standpoint for Coriolis drift. They must at some stage make it your claim. So the burden of proof reversal fallacy is prevalent whenever Coriolis comes up. It'll just get shifted across to, so you're saying Earth should turn underneath? Just listen out for that. Next time you're arguing about the fact that nothing's turning underneath an object in the air to show drift, and you point it out and they go, you think Earth should turn underneath a balloon? You're an idiot if you think Earth should turn under a balloon. Suddenly they've repositioned their claim that Earth should turn under a balloon into your claim as the flat earther. So then they can challenge your claim. Why are you making the absurd claim that Earth would turn under a balloon? Why would you think that? That's crazy speak. Let's attack your flat Earth claim that Earth turns under a balloon. It's like, hello, why would I as a flat earther claim Earth turns under a balloon? You just did. You told us how we say it. Therefore, it's become your claim. Let's go through your thought experiment.
Yeah, but I can't tell you how many times you've said, this is not my claim. This is what the heliocentric model claims. How many times do you have to say that? And they still say, so you're saying the Earth turns underneath. No, I don't think the Earth is turning at all.
Well, that's why I put up that screenshot, because he says that Sleeping Warrior doesn't understand the globe claims. When it's him.
Well, I think it's a case of...
That's the hill it seems he's going to die on. You don't understand when he clearly doesn't understand. It's hilarious.
I think it's a case of get the public, as much as possible, pin their absolutely ridiculous claims that the Earth is rotating. Pin that underneath things, right? Pin that onto us, and make it seem like we're stupid for making the claim that the Earth should be rotating underneath things. We're not making that claim. That's never been our claim. Our claim is completely opposite. We're pointing out your claim, but your claim is so ridiculous, their claim is so ridiculous, that they have to project it onto us and try and tell people we're make it out as if we're stupid for expecting that.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. It sounds so bad when we repeat their claim. They can't have it, so they say we're making it. No, we don't want that. We're not.
Exactly.
No, that's you guys.
Yeah, we point out very succinctly that globe, Earth, claims Coriolis effect. Coriolis effect is the effect induced as you turn underneath stuff. Ergo, the globe claims we turn underneath stuff. So, you put it to a anti-flat earther. The globe claims we turn underneath stuff, and we don't see that happen. And their brain scrambles and goes, so you're saying Earth should turn underneath stuff? No, I'm not. That's a globe claim that I'm highlighting so I can debunk it when I point out nothing's turning underneath anything.
You know what I noticed a lot more of with Virus yesterday? There was a lot more of that laughter yesterday. I think 5 or 6 times he said, yeah, go ahead, Def. A lot more laughter coming out of him.
What I did notice is that And this is a common trend, unfortunately. And I'm not attacking the lad, but there was a lad came in, you could be listening now, I don't know who it was, came in from Discord and said that the globe claims that there's no Coriolis effect at the equator. And that Virus had claimed that there was some, right? There was some, right? Or a small bit or whatever. And Nathan corrected him saying, no, there is claimed to be Coriolis effect at the equator. There's claimed to be 15 degrees an hour everywhere, right? Right? That's how they explain sunrise and sunset, right? The lad, I didn't hear him after that, if he said that after that, but I think he just kind of went quiet after that. But all that is that he's on Discord, this lad, and he's arguing with these people. And every time Coriolis comes up, they're talking about this complete globiolus nonsense that they've been pushing for years and not addressing the actual Coriolis effect. And it's at a point, because I bet you that lad does know what Coriolis was from the way he said it. He does understand it. He has been listening in. But he's been duped. And I don't mean this in a bad way, because it can happen to any of us. Duped because of arguing with these people on Discord into the position where he actually said that their claim is that there is no Coriolis effect at the equator, when that is not true, right? But because of arguing with these people, probably he could be arguing with them several times a week on Discord, because of arguing with these people, even though he himself, I'm pretty sure from what he said, knows what the Coriolis effect is, right? And could explain it. But because of arguing with these people, he comes out with their globiolus claim.
Yes, you're right, Brian.
No,
Basically,
actually, that was me, and I was just pointing out that he can't hold, like he was holding both positions at the same time. I know exactly what you're talking about globiolus, and I'm holding him to either or, like take a position. You know, I even did that after the show was over, and yeah, he kept pretending that he was trying to pin it onto us. You know.
Yeah, it does get complicated.
Which was
because,
dishonest.
Because we're trying to hold him to his previous arguments as opposed to globe claims. So it's thrice as complicated, because you've got the globe claim, the anti-flat earth claim, and his claim from the day before where it won't be affected by vast travel. So correct me if I'm wrong, almost exactly. You're saying, well, I'm just trying to get him to tie to a position, regardless of it being the incorrect position. So if he's going to tie to an anti-flat earth position of globiolus, then let's tie you to that position so we can pull it apart. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to do. I even clarified.
Well, it was very confusing. Get out!
I think it was great. You actually accused me of illustrated
piping
the
up from the
flip-flopping
peanut gallery.
immediately.
That's why I shut up.
No, it's fair enough. Unless you've got 25 to 30 seconds for every single counter-argument against an anti-flat earther to put in a string of disclaimers about whose position is being clarified and how that position doesn't work, then it's going to be immediately spun into you've got the wrong globe position, or it's your claim suddenly that the Earth doesn't turn underneath at the equator. It's like, no, I'm trying to get the opponent to tie himself to his position. It's not suddenly my claim. But we're so used to anti-flat earthers doing it. When somebody from our own side says, the globe claims there's no Coriolis effect on the equator, it's like, no, that's not what the globe claims. The anti-flat earth claims there's no drift to see on the equator. It's like, hang on, whoa. There's supposed to be drift. Our opponents tell us there wouldn't be any expected on the equator. What gives? Let's set them against each other. We don't even have to get involved anymore.
It could get
I don't know
really
if you guys
confusing,
could hear me.
I
was saying, sorry, buddy. Go ahead now. I'm sorry.
Almost exactly.
No, I'm just gonna quickly say that if you listen back, you'll find me actually clarifying and saying, no, that's not my position, right? But yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Chocolate.
That did come through. Maybe not to the G Plus channel, but it came through to the audience, or it will do when that show gets released tonight on my second channel. Subscribe today to Nathan Oakley channel. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Hey, you guys. Good morning. I didn't even mind. I liked it because it illustrated the flip-flopping immediately. Like how you just went back and forth with us for 45 minutes saying, well, there's not much Coriolis at the equator. And then as soon as somebody says there's none, and you're like, look, there's none. What? You just told us it's not much. Now it's none, and you're cool with that? It just demonstrates how ridiculous their reasoning is, and how he doesn't understand his claims.
Yeah, they have to hold two mutually exclusive positions. Hold on 1 second, almost. They have to hold two positions simultaneously. The position that Earth's going to give them Coriolis effect, again, I'll summarise, Earth turning underneath stuff, that's the standard globe claim. So they have to hold that position, it's the standard globe claim. However, because it doesn't happen, they also must hold the position that you wouldn't expect to see the globe claim. They must hold both. Now, obviously, that requires a lot of cognitive processing to reposition whichever one they're not arguing to be the opponent's position, even though we don't hold either. I'm going to say it one more time. When it comes to this nonsense of Coriolis deflection, A claim of Earth turning underneath stuff to see 15 degrees an hour drift, and B, a claim from anti-flat earthers that we wouldn't expect to see drift, we can literally just set these two against each other. Go ahead, almost exactly. Then Stigoli's trying to get a word in.
Yeah, I was just saying that was the aim of what I was doing, to show that contradiction right there.
Yeah, I think we were all on the same hymn sheet. That very much came across, and I may well edit out that section for that very reason. Also, I got told off because it was quote-unquote a shit show by one of our own side, because we're going round and round and round and round and round in circles. Well, that guy exemplified what my opponent in that instance, Akuma Virus, is trying to achieve. Get it to the point where everyone around you so sick of it going round in circles with you not conceding that everyone wants to move on. And then he doesn't have to concede, right? Because he's turned it into a shit show where he just goes round and round in circles. And then he doesn't have to have the embarrassing defeat admitted to, or toddle on of his own volition after losing. None of those things. He'd rather stay for 4 hours than do that. But the guy in the wings is like, yeah, this is a shit show. Yeah, that's what they'll turn it into when they lose. And I'm here to highlight that. That's the point of the show. Go ahead, Scully.
Yeah.
Yep. And you don't like it, kick rocks.
Thanks, Nathan. Hey. That's right, Chocolate. Thanks, Nathan. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to introduce a new person that joined live stream, Dagodian. He's a Glober. He was saying that this was a circle jerk. There were no Globers in chat, so I invited him in. Want to introduce yourself again, Dagodian?
I think he's server muted.
Oh, okay, my bad. Sorry, you were on server mute. That's my fault.
Hey, hello.
Good to have you. Good to have you. Did you have an opinion on
what have me?
Good to have you. Did you have an opinion?
I don't have an. No, I just got here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Talking about at the point of concession, when somebody's obviously had their argument pulled to pieces, is it reasonable that they stay for 4 more hours, interjecting into everything when they've been proven wrong?
Probably not.
Seem like a reasonable guy.
Okay. Glad to hear it.
So what is
so
it?
Are you a believer in the globe, that it's spinning and there's
I mean that's what I've always been told. That's what I.
Are you clicking something?
Never really heard any contentions to that until discovered this whole flat Earth thing.
Almost exactly off mute clicking, or is it you? What's your name? Dig something. Dag something. Dagadon?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good.
Are you clicking something?
Close enough.
Are you clicking something?
No.
Might be someone else on the panel.
Oh, okay.
Almost exactly. If you pop yourself on mute, I think there's some clicking sound coming from you or someone else.
Oh, it was him. I could hear it coming from his mic.
Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, it could be. I have no idea what is clicking, but is that happening like as I speak?
No, you've got a microphone in front of you. The easiest thing is there's a mute button when anyone else is talking. Just try and keep yourself on mute. That way you don't crack open the gate with background noise and such.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Discord?
Yes, I am familiar with Discord.
Perfect. So just pop yourself on mute if someone else is talking or you're replying. Just try and cover it with your mouse button. That'd be brilliant. So what exactly do you...
Right.
You said it's what you've been told. But is there any specific proofs-y that you've got to offer for us that we could take apart?
I mean, I don't really have proofs. I think it's kind of hard to provide like 100% evidence, but it seems to make sense to me.
What part of it makes sense?
A spinning water ball makes sense.
So, like for
let's
example, like I like to
without
draw like
interrupting
maps,
him.
right? Like fantasy maps that don't exist, and when you draw maps, you have to consider things like plate tectonics, ocean currents, wind patterns,
Yeah.
and you know all that makes sense with when you're drawing maps, you have to take the globe into consideration, like how the spinning
Why do you
affects
do
the
that?
wind.
Sure
That's
about
always
that?
what I've been told.
Hold on. Do you?
I mean, yeah, that's how I do it. I don't know.
You
I don't
take
know a
the
lot of
globe into
people who
consideration when you make maps.
flat Earth. Yes.
Can
You
I
make maps.
Can I ask him a couple of questions?
Hold on. You make maps.
Yeah, like not real ones, just made up ones for fun, you know.
Okay. And on those maps you have drop.
Do I have what?
Drop.
Drop?
Yes, drop.
Drop. What do you mean by drop?
Do you not understand the basic premise that it is to be on a sphere? Because this is going to be a pretty short conversation if you don't understand the fundamental basics of being on a sphere, something you think is just true. I say drop, you go, what? Yeah, drop. 8 inches per mile squared drop in every direction if you're on a sphere. Drop.
You mean the
any of your
curvature,
maps...
right? The drop of
Yeah, I'm
curvature,
clarifying. You didn't understand. You asked me with an upward inflection. Now I'm clarifying. Yeah, drop.
Right.
That would be 8 inches per mile squared in all directions if you believe you're on a fantasy sphere ball. Do any of your maps incorporate that?
Well, no, because you draw it on a rectangle projection.
What? You think it
draw
makes
on a
sense?
projection,
Stop
you project
talking.
it. Well, actually,
Stop.
You asked me.
That means shut
You
up.
told me to...
Shh.
Right.
Stop talking. To be on a sphere would require drop in every direction 8 inches per mile squared. It should be and would be on your map if it was real. You haven't got it. It isn't there, so it's flat. No drop on your map. So even your own bloody maps prove it's flat. No drop.
Well, maps are two-dimensional.
So no drop then.
Well, I guess if you're talking about curvature, you do have to at the poles. You do have to account for
Sorry, guys.
that. When I draw
what are those
poles,
little
I have
rings?
to
Sorry.
project that onto
Hello.
the globe.
What are the little
Yeah,
rings
what's up?
called around mountains to show elevation lines? What are they called?
What are the rings?
Yeah, the little rings. You have little rings around mountains that show heights on them on maps. Do you not know what I'm talking about? I thought you were a cartographer.
No, I'm not a cartographer. I do it
You
for
make
fun.
maps for fun.
I
You
mean,
don't know
I've
what
drawn like height maps. I use the different colors to represent the different heights. But I don't know what
So
mean
you
by
could
the
show
rings.
drop then. So they are capable, despite being two-dimensional pieces of paper, of showing drop and height. You can show
No,
how high.
you're not showing curvature.
Hello,
You're showing
hello,
height.
hello. Yeah, me
Hello.
middle of sentence. Hello. Yeah, so you can show drop then. You could show how much you could
No,
drop
you can-
down.
show
Hello, middle
height.
of a sentence. What's your malfunction?
You asked
What's your
me a
problem?
question.
What's your problem?
Was it a rhetorical question? I'm
Middle
trying to
of
speak.
my sentence, you're going to ask if I'm rhetorical. I haven't finished yet. I'll try again. Third time's a charm. So you can show drop on a map then. You could show how high a mountain was, and with your colour coding, you could show that there's a area below it lower than it. So you can show drop in two-dimensional maps. Do you have Earth curve drop, 8 inches per mile squared, coloured in your map?
Can I answer now, or are you still talking?
What, my specific question with an end and a pause to it? Do you have drop on your map? You've already answered no. You've then said it wouldn't show drop. I've pointed out that maps do show drop. You've said they've got colour coding. So do you have the colour coding for Earth drop or not?
I have the color coding for elevation, not for Earth curvature.
So no drop then. No Earth curve drop. Just topography. No drop. Flat.
Exactly.
Nathan,
Sorry. Who's going to white knight for this scumbag? He's just admitted that he's not got any Earth curve drop, and now we've got a white knight talking through him.
you never shown the Earth curve on a.
Whoever that was, you're getting muted. I was in the middle of a conversation. Whoever you are, shut up. So, dude, no drop in your map then. You can show drop. You show it in terms of topography, but you don't show Earth curve drop. Correct?
No. It's not correct.
So flat then.
Huh?
So flat then. Are
Yeah,
you
I know
deaf?
You just yelled it, but I'm having trouble hearing you. Like, just being
So
honest, I'm not
it's
trying to mess
flat then, no earth curve then, no 8" per mile squared then. It's flat.
So if the Earth was a globe,
it would have drop.
A 2D map.
It would have drop.
You're saying the map would have drop?
Yeah, that's why I asked you if your map had drop, and it doesn't. You've got topography showing drop, but not Earth curve drop.
Makes sense.
Sorry, why are you muttering through me? So it would have Earth curve drop.
You asked questions.
Yeah. Don't immediately leave a pause to not mutter through me and then start muttering through me immediately. It would have drop if Earth was dropping away from you. It doesn't. You don't plot it on your maps, but they are definitely capable of showing it. With elevation profiles.
Can you show me it?
Elevation profile. Do you know what that is?
Elevation does not show curvature.
So you don't think drop is a drop then? What do you think drop means?
No, I think when you say drop, you mean
when I say drop, I don't say drop. Earth curve is the thing suggesting drop. It's not what I'm saying, Dumbo. That's your claim. Don't say I'm saying it. I'm not.
Sure.
So you're saying drop, you just don't have it on your map?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so you're saying drop and you don't have it on your map. So your map doesn't show Earth curve. Your map is flat, but it's definitely capable of showing it. It just doesn't have any.
So how could...
So why are you asking me something? So you don't have any Earth curve in your map? Don't ask me something.
I've not met a single cartographer.
Don't tell me who you've met. Just confirm you haven't got drop in your map.
I don't.
Well, so it's flat then. No Earth curve, no 8" per mile squared then. Why the hell are you believing you're on a sphere when there's no sphericity in your map?
Dude, I'm not following.
Dude, don't call me fucking dude. Oi, brain dead retard with a sphere belief. Don't call me dude, I'll call you fuckwit. Fuckwit, there's no drop in your map. Call me dude. Call me sir. Are you deaf? You'll address me as sir. Not dude. Okay, dipshit? You don't have any drop in your map, dipshit. Want to call me dude again, dipshit?
Probably not.
Good. Yeah, you better bleeding not. So, no Earth curve drop in your map. Now show me one that does have it.
I can't show you.
So no map shows Earth curve? They're all flat then? Hello? Yeah. Do you need the White Knight to help you? Or are you done?
Bring him in.
Are you done?
I answered your question.
Yeah, you told me how flat your maps were, even though they have elevation profiles. Yeah, they can show drop, but they don't show Earth curve drop. Why would they? Well, because it's drop that's capable of being depicted, and it isn't. Which one's got it? None of them. So they're all flat. Why was it that you think you're on a sphere again? Because you were told?
Yeah, that's
Well, that makes you a retard, because your maps you're making haven't got any Earth curve in them, retard. Go and tell the people who told you they're wrong. Your maps don't have any Earth curve.
Got it.
Good. Sit down, shut up. Dr. Bob, White Knight, extraordinaire. What do you want?
Hey, dude. How you doing?
Hey,
I wanted to make arrangements.
Hey, Slaphead. How are you doing, Slaphead?
Talk about...
Hey, Slaphead. How are you doing?
Learn a little bit about...
Slaphead? You're not going to get acquainted with these names? You call me dude, I'll call you Slaphead. How about that?
Hey, we got Slappy and Slaphead.
Slaphead is you. You are Slaphead. If you're going to call me dude, I'll call you Slaphead, or you can call me Nathan. I think we're reasonably well acquainted.
All right, Nathan, you can call me
Excellent
Bob.
work. Good dog.
Come in.
Good dog. Yeah, that's right. You meet my demands immediately, like the good subservient little bitch you're going to be while you're here.
It's reasonable.
Good dog. Yeah, that's right. You will call me Nathan when I demand it.
About celestial navigation.
Yeah. You already made clear you're in your subservient little position, Bob. So where'd you get a straight line for a sextant on a globe?
When would you like to talk about that? Because
now,
you only have a few...
Are you fucking thick? Where would you get a straight line considering that there's always atmosphere for a sextant? Go.
When would you like to schedule the talk?
Now, you dumb shit, you're talking to me. Are you retarded? You're having the conversation with me now. Where'd you get a straight line for a sextant considering you've got sphere-shaped air?
I'm at the start of your show. Would that be good?
We're talking now, Dumbo.
Is 9 o'clock tomorrow morning?
We're talking right now.
Good for you?
So you can't tell me now where you get a straight line from, coward?
No, I got things to do.
You got things to do, but you're here talking to me, just not answering a simple question. Where'd you get a straight line for a sextant?
Well, you haven't responded to my request.
My request is where you get a straight line for a sextant. You made an hour presentation for my compadres on Bullbusters. Now I'm asking you a straight question about your straight line for a sextant on a sphere. Where'd you get it?
Well, you won't leave your echo chamber, so I had to...
Sorry, is this going to be about my echo chamber, about the sextant and its straight line and where you get it on a sphere? Third time asking.
When would you like me to come on the show, Nathan?
You're here now. Are you thick? You're literally on the show now. You're asking me when I want you to come on. You're here now. Where'd you get a straight line when you've got atmosphere on a globe?
Choice is any day this week at the start.
My choice is I'm talking to you now. I'm going to repeat my question for the fourth time. Where'd you get a straight line for a sextant in atmosphere?
You put the time you want to talk with me in the...
Now, that's my time. I'm asking you for the fifth time where you get a straight line for a sextant on a sphere, considering you've got atmosphere, coward. Has he run? Has he run away?
Of course he ran. Of course he ran.
Yo, bitches on the globe side. Go on, whoever that was.
I don't know why he thinks this needs to be an appointment. It's going to end real quick. He could
Dr.
just
Bob?
stay on now.
Because he's Dr. Bob. And he thinks I should schedule with him when the subservient little bitch immediately met my demand to call me what I told him to call me. Yeah? Then he thinks he's going to be getting me to make an appointment with him. You've come to me, bitch. You're already here. Getting a teabagging with one question about where the hell you get a straight line from. And what did I get as a response? It's an echo chamber. Oh, right, so you're not a glober debating with me right now? No, I'm here to make an appointment. Yeah, the appointment's now. It's a live show, Dumbo. And you didn't answer my question. Where you get a straight line from an atmosphere, now did you, coward? Yeah, that was how Bob got on with me. No hour-long presentation required. Where'd you get a straight line in atmosphere? I need to make an appointment. This is an echo chamber. Well done, Bob. Good job. Good dog.
By the way, for future people, all appointments are the show starts 9 a.m. Eastern time. Just pop on.
Show's live
And
now.
Don't be a cornball and come here and ask for an appointment. If you're here, you're here. Cornball. Fucking idiot.
Nice distraction. I'm sure everybody watching thought, wow, yeah, it was totally reasonable when they're talking to him to ask for an appointment when asked where he gets a straight line on a globe in atmosphere. Perfectly reasonable response to ask for an appointment, or claim the host has got an echo chamber when it's literally him there on the globe side, anti-flat earth in reality, arguing with me on the flat earth side. But yet, is he actually going to answer a question about an hour-long presentation he made, or is he going to try and make an appointment for a later date? He could have just given me the answer there and then, right? You'd think it would be simple. You'd think with a globe belief he'd have all the truth in the world behind him to just slap me about with the truth about where he gets a straight line from. Right, Bob? No, I think we need to make an appointment. Yeah, okay, this time tomorrow. I'm here daily, dickhead. Anytime you want to come back and tell me where you get a straight line in atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, I'll be here to listen to your answer. Yeah, Bob, yeah. I'm sure you'll have one in a hurry, right? Maybe you'll make a really long video about me, having come and asked me for my attention on my show, and then tried to get me to make an appointment with you. Nah. No, I don't need an appointment with a quack. I'm good, thanks. I do need to know where you get a straight line from on a sphere-shaped air-based globe. That's what I need to know. That's precisely what I asked you 5 times. Didn't you hear me?
I take it this is the same Bob who said that the sextant is a tool that measures angles, and then right after that said it can't measure angles.
Yes.
Yeah, so based on his claim that it's a tool that measures straight lines to give him angles, it's a fairly reasonable question to ask him where he gets that straight line from on a globe now, isn't it? Wouldn't you say? Not unexpected either, given it's been, 22 months of them telling us that everything's always refracted, never no Atmo day. So obviously I've been barked at for 20 months plus about this Bob the Science Guy. So you do not think that's going to be the first thing I ask about when you come here to me? Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that atmospheric refraction that you're always claiming is always in effect, except on no Atmo day. Because you're not going to be able to use the sextant unless you've got straight lines, as you made clear with your very limited understanding of how a sextant works. It's getting an angle from straight lines. So where'd you get them? I think I need an appointment.
Otherwise, a little reticent, Nathan, because unfortunately, as he showed in the Orbusters thing, the only place he can seem to get his straight line from is from this whore, which he has yet to define properly. Because he just pulls his whore out from nowhere. On his diagram, his whore should be touching his geometric horizon. And that's why he ran off, because he has this contradiction that he's generating a straight line magically from nowhere in his model, because it uses the horizon, which on his model wouldn't generate a straight line. Hence why he's cut off. But yeah, he needs to define where he gets his whore from.
Sorry, his what?
His whore. That's how he put it on his diagram.
Horse?
Whore. H-O-R.
His prostitute?
That's what I heard. Whore. It is whore. H-O-R.
I didn't write it on the board. He spelled it H-O-R, but that's the thing that defines his level, his whore.
You kept saying that. I was like, am I hearing correctly?
I'm like, did you say prostitute?
No, he is actually saying whore. But with that, I am going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, just try and get the sniggers under control while I do this outro, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
I think we have a.
Why can't you start now? You're here now. Why don't you start now?
Wait a second. Wait.
Brian's like, fuck that.
Do it! Do it now! Do it now!
Do it now! I like Arnie.
Only works if you do the Arnold voice.
You've got a good Arnie voice, better than mine.
Do it now! Come on!
That's nice, always.
It's the come on that does it. I love Predator. It's such a good movie. It's a shame it's about an alien from outer space.
I always thought it was just an oversized Jamaican.
Nathan, the alien from outer space, actually, it's not. That's built onto later with Alien versus Predator, blah, blah, blah. All you really see is a ship in high orbit, flying. You don't know where it comes from. Could be from another realm segment. For all we know.
Excuse me. Sorry to cut you off, Arwen. Adam has scheduled an appointment for 1 minute past. So.
They should have done it now.
Stop interrupting my time, Arwen.
Sorry.
It's kind of. I was a bit quiet today in the show because I've been looking at this and pondering on it for a few days. Be a bit early to do a real presentation, but I just want to show you what I was looking at. It's when this guy mentioned maps is why I wanted to bring it up. It's to do with triangulation and how maps are formed and how they were done in. I think this is Cassini, one of the oldest ways of doing a map, and he's charged by the King of France. And I think one of the famous quotes is that the King of France says something like, in all the wars I've fought to gain land for France, I've lost it all by you drawing me this map, as in the accurate representation from previous maps actually showed a reduction in the size of France. Now, the way in which the Cassinese did this was triangulation. Say Cassini's because it apparently took 3 generations of the father-son line to do it. But they did it, like I said, via triangulation. He was also a fantastic astronomer, this guy, as well, and he used a lot of his methods. But this is, I think I've got a better picture somewhere. Is that okay? Yeah. This is what he did and how he did it. You can see the triangles a lot if I zoom in. All just using sextants, chain links and the likes. I've got a few other bits. I'll come back to that actually. This is to do with the triangulation of India, where really big book, but it goes through all the instruments. Let me see if I can just zoom in a little bit. Yeah, so chains, perambulators, rolly wheels, sextants, quadrants, compasses. It tells you all detail of all the bits of kit that was used to do the same thing in India. And this one I find amazing. This is India. Look at the triangles that the empire kind of put onto this map to map it all with triangles. Yeah, it's just amazing. Now, this is what creates accurate maps, all these linking of these triangles, all taken a bit like the Al-Biruni method of calculating his base. It's all done on that flat base. This is the Cassini stuff again, with to show how accurate it is, with an overlay from Google Earth. So it just shows you that with these triangles, they mapped it perfectly. It's a flat map, and it works with triangles on a flat plotting. It doesn't work if you try and put it on a circular surface. But like I said, all of that is done with the same instrumentation that's of basically a sextant, measuring angles and creating triangles. And it only is accurate if we're not having to deal with a curvy surface underneath it. The surface we have is flat and true for these angles to have inference. Thank you.
Adam, that's the survey of India, yeah? Adam?
That one is, yes. Yeah, the big book I was referencing in terms of how they did it, all the things is India one, yeah. But the first one, which is like 100 odd years before, was France. Incidentally, all of this seemed to be run, or you can see the massiveness of this, but this was all done by Jesuit missionaries, a lot of it. So outsourced the work to the Jesuits. So I'm not sure what inference you want to draw from that, but this latter book just describes all the full chapter on the Jesuits in there. But I digress. Point being, look at that triangulation.
Well, it's supposedly they did a very, very precise job of mapping out India, of surveying India, and they just pre-assumed it to be flat with elevations.
Yeah. That's all the calculations are done that. They're not adjusting. The only thing that was noticeable in terms of they're using chains and theodolites and angles and stuff, but to confirm positions and times, they use the stars and the sextants to be super accurate to kind of confirm stuff. So, but all, I would say, done with flat planar trig.
Alrighty then. Thank you, Adam.
It was just interesting. The only reason I thought was the guy with the just buttered in saying he makes maps. It's interesting timing, I thought, because it's exactly what I'm looking at, and you hit on the point exactly. That they don't account for that. There was a little document. It's in here somewhere, but it talks about how you can transpose the accuracy of the Cassini maps onto the WGS84. But look at the variances you have to adjust. It says, note the relatively high adjustment values for the consequences of the spheric shape. You have to move the points that you've taken cleanly off the map, even some of the X, but obviously all the Y, Z. So there's kind of admission that it's real, look, because when you take a satellite image, it fits, but to stick it onto the WGS, you've got to curve it all. It's true to the real world.
What's interesting about it, if you go back to that one of India with the grid on it, if it's there, is they actually are already pre-assuming a central point that grid will run around, because what's going on there is up towards the top of that grid, what you notice is that they're not equal to in diameter to the, let's call them squares towards the bottom. And this is something that they do. It's like they can't let the globe go, so they start messing around with the grid. But it's kind of hard to.
But that's an overlay grid, Brian. Those triangles are constructed on the ground, and they're not. It's not one bloke going round. And it's loads of other people, but they all join up. Look, you'll notice it joins up correct. Yeah. Now if you took all those green lines away, you'd see India there. Yeah, based on the congregation of all the triangles, the tessellation almost, isn't it? You'd still see a map of India there based on those triangles. Then the overlay, they're little slightly, kind of longitude lines, which is like you say, they can't let go of the ball. I mean, that could still be okay.
Because it's like they're using like a lot of longitude lines with a lot of latitude, kind of straight latitudes. It's like it's not correct. It can be used on the smaller scale within that grid, but with that grid as a reference now is not a correct reference if you're talking about Cartesian, because Cartesian requires them all to be all equal in size, and the ones up towards the top right hand side are not the same in diameters or in dimensions as down at the bottom left. So they can't let the globe go. They have to keep on trying to add in this nonsense that has no reason to be there.
We don't need the base grid. If I was to say, let's pick somewhere, Nagpur, this triangle here at Nagpur, and I wanted to know how far it is from here to here. I don't need to Raipur, there you go. So Nagpur to Raipur, I don't need the base thing. All I need, I can work it out from the triangles. I can draw another triangle to there and there and there, and using geometry, I can work out the distance from here to here because I've got all these other triangles. Sometimes I can draw a line to if I wanted to go here, sometimes I can draw other triangles from there. I can calculate because I know all the angles and lengths of these ones and these ones. I can link them together. The base grid underneath's just something, like you say, it's not relevant to the calculations within where everything's placed on the blue triangles. It's just an overlay. Yeah. And like you say, they can't let it go, hence why they're not actually squares, those.
Well, I know it's on Google Earth is the best example that there is, because when you open it up, you see the globe, right? And as you zoom in, you suddenly end up with a grid where all the grid matches, right? What they call it tile coordinates, same thing It's still using XYZ, so it's Cartesian, right? They're using rectangles more than squares, but if you add up the rectangles, you can make a square. They can deal with either way. But what they do, let's just say Google Earth, what they do is that when you're looking at something in the distance, let's say you come down low to the ground, right? As you zoom in from, once they show you the globe, you zoom in and then you end up at tile coordinates. Now that means it's not. Like, as soon as you see tile coordinates, that means it's not spherical anymore. It can be flat with elevations, but it can't be spherical once you see tile coordinates. So if you keep zooming in and you go and try and look at something, you bring your camera down and tilt it up down towards the ground and tilt it up to see something in the distance. What they do, right, is they try and give the impression that something has gone over the curve of the Earth. But that's not what's happened in their model. What they've actually done is they've actually induced the amount of angular size change things have at a distance. So all of a mountain or whatever is there, but they just made it smaller in angular size than it should be for the observer from that location, to give the impression that things have gone over a curve. When in reality, because as soon as you see tile coordinates, you will see tile coordinates and then you end up down towards the ground. And then they have to make the angular size of everything in the distance appear really small to give the impression that they're just showing what happens when things go over a curve, but they're not. They just made everything smaller than it really is in angular size at that distance for an observer. So no matter what they do, they can't get away from reality. Google Earth can't get away from reality, because if Google Earth showed stuff going over the curve of let's say going over a curve, a geometric curve, it would look completely nothing like what we see in reality. Do you know what I mean? When you zoom into Blackpool and you look in a distance to see the mountains, they look nothing like we see them in reality. Well, I know they look something like we see them in reality now, but if they had them going over a curve with a geometric horizon, no one would believe it. They go, that's not what we see, because it's not.
You're going to need R for that as well. Are you all not talking to me because I didn't get the clips to Mitchell in time?
You're going to need R for that.
I still haven't heard that show. I was busy watching Forrest sack the manager last night with another dismal performance, so I missed it. So I'm going to have to catch up with it. Sounds like a goodie. Yeah, I'm glad I sent my clip in. I hope I got in there.
You did.
Yeah, quickfire, basically. If you could summarise all of the claim to be globe proofsies over the last 2 or 3 years, maybe from 2 or 3 years ago, so from like 2015 to 2017, right? That was what it was. A summary of all those arguments over those couple of years in quick succession being debunked on the fly live with a nice view. It was great. Typical Mitchell from Australia.
Oh, bro, I've pimped his logo as well.
Oh, cool.
We've done a bit of work and gave him just a tiny little intro. Well, so he might start using that soon. But yeah, we've worked the past few days tweaking, just pimping his ride. It's the same thing, just like crisped up, so he could print it on a T-shirt and stuff. You know what I mean? Because it weren't in high enough res to use it. So we've tweaked it, and he wanted a shiny sextant as well. So he's got. But the reason being, his show his show is so good. Just, I don't know, the geek in me, just little bits that just smarten it up to the first time viewer as well. Like I said, I think I really enjoy the content and the way it's given. Like I say, on the beach, chilled, just relaxing. You don't have to talk sometimes. You can just look out, can't you? And it's Lovely.
As we've been talking about maps, any chance we can carry on from the conversation we were having yesterday? Because I discussed this in the pre-show before you got here. I think you just caught the tail end of it when you got here, Adam, about the extremities of the claim to be contained in a finite amount of area land that we have. Now, it was fortunate that yesterday Arwin immediately took it to the extreme. It was like, well, I don't think that means it's infinite. I'm like, no, neither do I. But potentially considerably more than we might have. And that might be one of the reasons for the various different paradigms having limits, edges, ice walls, domes, globes, all these different things that give them a methodology of making the land finite.
We like to know, don't we? As humans, we like to know our limits. So we're happy to accept them. Whether it's an ice wall, stone, whatever. I don't think it really matters. All you can kind of say is, if you've not been there to confirm it, there's no way of demonstrating. The only presentation we're given is a ball. That there isn't anything that's containing us in that sense. We're stuck on a sphere, so we go in loops. That's what we're fed to believe, that there's no point going there because you just come back on yourself. That's what we're trained to believe. Maybe that's why people don't bother or aren't allowed to bother, as another way. But as for trying to surmise that we're sat in a giant
it's just like Truman Show, man. Truman wanted to be an explorer, and what did the teacher do? She pulled down the thing and said, "Nope, sorry, it's all been explored. Nothing to see here."
Hey, I heard something on this sports radio I listened to. They were talking about Mars, and they discovered a substance on Mars. The dust on Mars and human blood can make a substance that's stronger than concrete. And they were licking it up like it was a real thing. And how that's great because now they could start colonizing Mars and it'll be stronger than Earth. I'm dead serious. That's what they were talking about.
With human blood, did you say there, Neil?
Yes, he did.
Human blood and the dust on Mars.
So all I'd say to that is, sometimes you know how you look for the phallus in some of their iconography? Yeah, that would sound a similar type of statement. Putting it in your face statement.
Spill your blood for Mars.
We can build on Mars, but it's going to cost human blood, is what they're telling you. Yeah.
Dr. Bob has no time to tell you the answer, and he has time to write chat there. Fuck.
Did you believe him when he said he had an appointment? Come on,
Oh, bollocks.
Sasha.
The guy hung around the entire time I was talking to that other guy.
That he said that he has no time, he has time to write, it's easier to speak, it's faster. And it's got this done. Why you need to, yeah.
Yeah, he hung around after white knighting. So although I was in the thick of it with that other guy, I didn't actually fully appreciate that was Bob the Science Guy when I was like, whoever you are, white knighting, shut up. But then he hung around.
You cannot break contract.
Right?
You cannot break contract with CNN and BBC, because everything arranged for tomorrow.
I run a live show at the same time and have done for many years now.
I'll lay dollars to donuts he doesn't come back in tomorrow.
I wouldn't want to come back either if I was him.
Did you notice that, what's his face? Zorg, that Zorg version 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. When I started talking about conspiracy cats, he fucking shut up like a fucking motherfucker. I'm sure that's conspiracy cats.
Fair enough.
Why Bob is coming here? You need to go somewhere where is a navigation server and explain, and there you can teach people how to navigate with Sextants.
Show some
Send them to Yugoslavia.
To show some drop on a map.
Yeah.
Where's the drop? What you got, Adam?
Just like map miscellany time, but this is something that always bugged me. Is this dotted line is your international date line, and look, we're at the ice wall. Watch it curve. Watch this. I mean, look at this. What kind of trippiness is that? Yeah,
that's the stitch up where they've got to mesh it all back together.
Why would it ever be required? It's very interesting. Then we go, oh, we'll have another wobble here. Look, yeah, and then this one. This is, I really like this because this is just, in terms of time zones, it makes no difference. So we've got here the Bering Strait, haven't we? And there's a few different islands, but up here there's the Diomede Islands. There they are. Now these guys are like 100 kilometers apart, if that, I think. Here is about 18 hours difference. It's not like 23 hours, which is what you'd think, you know, one day. This is like the first of the month, and sorry, this is the first of the month, and this is the second of the month on the 2 days, but they're not 23 hours apart like you'd expect. There's something like 16 or 18, just because the way they throw up stuff. And yeah, this is supposed to be, certainly from a flat Earth point of view, you can tell time from this. Yet there's a subversion, a perversion of time here and locality to such an extent that these two aren't segregated by like 1 hour. Even if you do call it in your Phileas Fogg day, you cross over that time. There's split by about 18. Like I said, it's a very weird non-alignment of geography and time. Even if you're going to have to draw a date line, but yeah, there you go.
That'll be the gravity.
It's interesting. If date line now, but there you go. Look how weird it is. Right, it goes. It's straight there. Blah, 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 blah. And like I said, I think that was the one, Tony, that just says, well, why do you need that if that's even a projection? You know what I mean? What is it? Because that's a date line. You could come in and out of days and weeks here, technically, aren't you? So it's stitching something up. I'm not sure what, but like I said,
that's where, you know, where they say if it were a flat plane, it wouldn't mesh together. You wouldn't be able to hide it because the land there would be like slippage over land over time. They don't put the slippage over land. They might have to land out, but the slippage is done in the oceans, and that to me is the proof of it.
Yeah, they mess around with the oceans. That's true.
It's the only way they'd be able to do it without us knowing.
Well, I debunked, not that it needed debunking, but I debunked, there was that claim where there was this rubbish about flights from, I think it was Sydney to Johannesburg. And I've seen a couple of videos that were supposed to be this flight, two videos, and it doesn't happen anymore, this flight anyway, right? But they were claiming to fly towards Tasmania from Sydney and then go out along the end of Australia and then fly around the edge of Antarctica and then up into Johannesburg, right? And this was the claim. Now, there was no evidence of it. It's just they were claiming they were doing this. In the videos, this was the claim that this was happening. But I destroyed the whole thing very easy by just saying, well, there's a bit of a problem when you add in magnetic declination, because magnetic north is the real north. So when you add in magnetic declination, there's well over 2,000 miles, if I remember correctly, extra distance between Sydney and Johannesburg. And on top of that, Hobart is not in the position you expect it to be in comparison to Sydney, because Hobart is more east than Sydney. Right? So the person couldn't come back to me. I'm not going to go name the person now because they were okay to deal with. They weren't giving me crap. We went through kind of a day or two of things. But you know, it was like magnetic declination changes all the distances around, changes things around all over the place. If you look at magnetic declination, Africa is way more west, and Australia and places is more east.
Correct. I was talking with what's his face last night, Mitchell, and I said, "What was the stars point that what's his name, Sensible brought up?" I said, "Is it literally just the backwards rotation that he perceives?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Like, are we going back to 2016?" I said, "Like, the stars point's our point now." I said, "It's not theirs anymore. Our point is that when you're looking south on a ball, you would see the rotation point for all observers 180 degrees from north every single time." I said, "But it doesn't happen because of declination. But is declination a legitimate adjustment, or is it the band-aid for why these things don't line up on a ball? Because the fact is they don't line up on a ball." And I said to him, make sure you reference declination in future, because they've got to be at 180 degrees from north, but they haven't got a way of establishing what north is. And he totally understood it. And I was like, this is going to be another rehearse of like the baby arguments, but it's going to be good because like everyone's got different perspectives on it now since 2016 when we last talked about it.
What's the declination in India like? Because I'll present again. This is.
Don't know, but there's 35 degrees between Wellington in New Zealand and Cape Town in South Africa. 35 degrees. It's supposed to be a ball.
See here, look. It talks about compasses, what they do, the levels of accuracy, differences, what are the good ones, what are the really good ones, how they need to be mounted on stands, not, handheld and stuff. But there's no mention in this triangulation data with regards to.
So 27 degrees west. 27 degrees west for Bombay.
Right, but they don't mention here that they're taking into account this. I'll have another good look, but it's not something I've seen. Look, all experimental surveys took regular astronomical observations to variation of the needle. That is the declination. There we go. For its scale from true north. Right, so that's saying that it's this would of course be of no value with a pocket compass. Will be important for bearings taken by a theodolite, which could give readings like the Vernier magnetic meridian to 1 minute. So is there?
I just did the calculations there for that. Was it 35 degrees? Anthony said between Wellington.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, the difference between Cape Town, Africa, and Wellington, New Zealand, is like 30+ degrees.
Yeah, but for 35 degrees is 2,415 statute miles.
Which is an outrageous amount off what they should be for a ball.
It was very similar for Sydney and Johannesburg, if I remember correctly. I think it was Johannesburg. Very similar distance.
It's less than 35 degrees. I think it's about 25 degrees, but the point is it's not at 180 degrees from north. So it's like what you're pushed into accepting is whether a compass points north or does it vary depending on where you are on the Earth? And if it does vary, what's causing it? Is it something falling out the sky like a flow, like ethereal flow, like Bob says? Or is it something emanating from the center of mass on a ball? And I'm not an etherist guy. I don't think there's... I don't want to go into the argument for ether, but whether it exists or not is irrelevant, but it's what's causing the compass to do what it's doing. Is it something from above or is it something from below? And how do we know?
What's interesting there, look, all experienced surveyors from Reynolds onwards took regular astronomical observations to determine the variation of the needle. So what he's saying is there is, again, they're using the sextant and the stars, to realign for any issue that their compass might have. So it's admission the compass isn't, it's working on a different scale, isn't it? It's out of line with the map and the stars. It's aligning to something else, which in both models I think is conceded. But they're saying there, look, that fundamentally the way in which they accept that and the way in which they account for it is to use the stars, fundamentally triangles, therefore, to correct for the variation in the magnetics to the mapping.
But what's causing it though? Is it from below or is it from above?
All right.
Well, they say it's the magnetic core, isn't it? They say it's the dynamo effect that causes these fields that give us the rotation, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. Well, I don't know if they were to do it inside an igloo that was wrapped in tinfoil and stop the outside magnetic effects from coming in, presumably they'd still work from underneath. But if you did it outside the igloo and or on top of the igloo and it were coming in from above, then it wouldn't work. I don't know. I'm just wondering how they know what is influencing, or how do they know what's causing the compass to do what it does? Whatever that may be.
The cause of the Earth's magnetic field?
What's causing the compass to move? You know, when you move around, what causes the compass to move? Is it from above or is it from below?
It's from a field that's around it, isn't it? So it's this is the I made it up myself explanation on Mitchell's, isn't it? But basically, yeah, the force applied by the magnetic field is sufficient if you've got a perfectly balanced needle, isn't it, to mean that the equilibrium, the place of least resistance for the needle to sit, it will be neatly within that magnetic field alignment. Yeah, because so that's how magnets work. That's the cause of that magnetic field is God knows.
Where's it emanating from? Is it emanating from a nucleus in the center of below us, and that it's passing through the rocks? Because normally rocks would stop that.
I think you can only say that it needs. When you work a compass, you can't tilt it towards yourself, can you? It needs to be flat. It needs to be perpendicular, done it to a plumb. Yeah. So that tells you one thing. And that's the alignment of the field, yeah, that it's in relation to the surface of the Earth, isn't it?
In relation to this, well, yeah, it's showing that it's in relation to the surface of the Earth, yeah. I just don't know whether it's... Because to me, personally, it doesn't make any sense that whatever is below our feet, right, the land, the ground, whatever's below our feet, it doesn't make sense that a magnetic field could emanate from there, given all the insulation that stops it, because the ground isn't insulated for magnetic field. That's why you have to be outside for a compass to work well, because it gets interfered with by electrics inside your house and all that. So you got to be outside, right? But if you have to be outside of your house for it to work, then it makes sense that it wouldn't work if you were on the surface of the Earth if the field was emanating from below. It would only work if the field was emanating from above, because you're in touch with that field when you're outside. So it doesn't make sense to me personally that it's emanating from the rocks below, where they would be absorbed by those fields would be absorbed. Like, imagine playing music from the sky down to those on the ground, or trying to play it from below thousands and thousands and thousands of meters of rocks and expecting us to hear music. That kind of doesn't make sense to me, that.
Why is he just talking about that? What's he saying?
Where is the electronic or the electromagnetic field that compass is aligned to? Where is that emanating from? Is it above or is it below? And how can you tell?
Well, I mean, I know history. I know we have mythological from history. When I say mythological, it only became mythological after Mercator stopped adding it into his maps for some reason. Even Dr. John Dee, who was not our Dr. John Dee, but the original Dr. John Dee, who was the physician or whatever, an astrologer or whatever, too, the queen of, I can't remember which queen, pretty famous queen in England. Like, he spoke about it. Yeah, he spoke about it. He was very famous. Like, there was a lot of famous people in history that took it as fact, and then suddenly just disappeared. This magnetic mountain in the north, supposed to be made of black, is it obsidian or something like that? But I don't know I don't know how true it is, but I always like I said it to a few people over the years, a few ballers, and they really didn't know what to say about it. But how do you know Polaris is not a second pole, magnetic pole, that they're both of opposite? One is plus, one is minus, like, or something like that. Like, I mean, we're going into speculation here, but Polaris, why is Polaris? Polaris, where did the word come from? Aris is in Greek, I think it is. It means something like air, something like that. So it's like pole of the air, that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
It makes sense, Brian.
Yeah, makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just can't prove it. But you know, there's a lot of things we don't know about our world. So we have to speculate, don't we? But we have to take words and.
So, Brian, are you saying Polaris has no bearing on the compass?
Yes. But see, I don't know. Like, I mean, we always presume, like, I would have been speculating that the fact that they'd be two opposite poles, one would be a plus and one would be a minus. So, or sorry, the two of them would be same poles. So they'd be positioned in such a way where they would not pull towards each other, but push away from each other, and that might help with the structure of the whole place. You know, because trying to push two magnets together that don't want to go together, it's very difficult. So imagine two extremely powerful magnets. That would be making sure, and nobody trying to push them together. That would be kind of making sure that they stay apart and everything connected to them stays apart, which gives us a sky and an earth. That kind of a thing. But it's all speculation. As I said, I can't prove any of it. I just did some declination there on Sydney and Santiago, just because of those two cities, and they're actually 807 miles closer together than with declination than without.
Nathan, you there?
Yeah, I'm listening in. And the only thing
Master
I would
B?
add... Go on.
No, Master B, I got two pictures. I just took them. The hot air balloons near my property.
Well, I will add something if there's a minor gap, because I was going to say it ties in reasonably well with what you're talking about in terms of declination and how they've got us navigating. We've got an singular, absolute direction, and then we've got east and west taking you in a circle. Well, that's how we're led to believe that we should navigate using this magnetic field, right? Why? Why would that be the way of doing it? I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does. But that, again, has you, number one, going around in circles. If you're a flat earther explaining how, well, you can circumnavigate by going around in circles. Like, yeah, but doesn't that also infer that if you're not dead reckoning away from the place and showing that there is in many instances, if you're a flat earther claiming there's an ice wall, like, okay, dead reckon to it then. Forget the navigation types. Figure out a new way of navigating that doesn't rely on a magnetic field to follow. Because as far as I can tell, it's a useful way of flipping the paradigm to flat, keeping us all contained still. That system of navigation, I mean. I don't know if anyone's got any comment on that before we go on to the balloons that 10th man's got. If not, we'll go on to the balloons.
Say that again, Nathan, what you just said.
Utilisation of magnetism, compasses, in order to find your way and have certain set parameters about how you will navigate, will leave you circumnavigating a sphere if you believe you're on a sphere. Let's just draw a line through that. We don't need to go through that here unless somebody from Fundy peanut gallery pipes up at this particular moment, in which case we will. No, we won't. In which case, what have we got left with? Okay, well, you go with this idea of magnetic navigation taking you round and round in circles when you go east or west, right? Would you agree, first and foremost, Brian?
Yeah.
Right. Well, why would that be the only way that you think would navigate, if that's going to take you round and round in circles and not leave you to find anything else? It's like, okay, why are you going to use a compass then? Oh, because that's how you navigate. Says who? Well, says the navigators. Where does it say it? In these here rules. You're like, but it's got you going around in circles.
I see what you mean. You're constantly going around a circle around the center, and you're not doing anything that involves going off in any other directions.
It just follows off from my point yesterday when I was talking to Arwin about why is the finite amount of land that we're led to believe is on a globe suddenly gets pancaked out on a flat map, and that's it. And what we're just going to accept that we're sealed in a dome with an ice. Well, fuck all that. Right. How do we navigate? Okay, that method left us going around in circles. So, world's our oyster. We're always talking about how the unknown means we've got all these different things to suddenly postulate and consider. Well, consider this. Navigation rules and regulations, if you want to call them that way, the paradigms and the conventions that are used to do that, might not be much use. In fact, might be another method of control. Just saying.
Well,
my wife said she.
Can I say
hold on
something?
1 second. Real quick, my wife says it seems like we see in it like a circular, like that's the way we see, circular.
And the way we navigate. What a shock. And that way's useful.
Why can't we just abandon the magnetics and basically go for pure celestial navigation? Right? The celestial orientations are consistent, right? They
Check it out. So the stars are not linked to magnetism then? You're certain of that? You've proven that, have you, Arwin?
What do you mean?
They're not intrinsically linked with this control mechanism that I'm describing in terms of the magnetic field. You've disproven that the stars have any relation to that field, have you?
Any relation?
You said, well let's use stars instead of...
The stars are not going to lead you in circles. Like that.
Really?
Aren't they circular?
Well, going north, going south, the tilt of the apparent sphere of the globe of the heavens, right? It is pretty consistent. It has nothing to do with magnetics, right? Is this Polaris exactly above the magnetic North Pole and the supposed Southern Cross exactly above the South Pole? Is it? Or not at all? See?
You tell us. You're saying it's detached. You haven't addressed what I'm saying so far, which is to say, if you're going to say, let's move away from the magnetic compass-based navigation and purely rely on the stars, I'm saying, how do you know that isn't part and parcel of the exact same thing? You don't know it isn't, is my point.
Well, I personally don't know because I haven't personally done it, but I can imagine that the magnetics are bound to specific locations, Euclidean locations on Earth, where there are the originating points of the magnetism, both positive and negative, right? Two negative, actually. And that makes it location bound. Celestial star systems don't seem to abide by that at all.
Okay, and these
It's still
fields
gonna be out there.
and these fields loop back on themselves. And what do you know? When you
We
follow
don't
the
know.
maps in a certain way, rather than a direction that's pointing out in one direction when you're standing holding a compass actually taking you in one direction, it takes you in circles. Now, I'm not being funny, Arwin, but isn't it quite useful that a magnetic field does that? If you then tied all of your navigation to that looping magnetic field, what do you think people are going to end up doing? Well, they're going to end up looping around on themselves, aren't they? And that's exactly what we do.
I don't see your point. That's a constriction. That's a restriction they put on there on purpose.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, and I'm saying you can absolutely just start ignoring that and go by pure celestial navigation. Not saying throw your compass in the ocean. It's just like stop following that and go for pure celestial, and let's see
But
what
in what
else out there.
respect? In what respect? Unless you're using maps that are based on those principles, then when you say use celestial, short of just saying I'm going to follow a star that is A, moving with perspective when I travel towards it, and B, rotating around a central point in the north and then moving around what seems to be an area of empty space in the south. Well, what star are you going to follow? It's not got a fixed position to follow. So short of literally going around in circles by following a star, or utilising the maps and navigation systems that are laid down based on magnetic fields, what use are the stars if you're starting from scratch? Forget all of what you've learned and all of what you understand about where to go and how to get there. What use are the stars? Let's start. I'm just going to say, I don't know anything about how to get anywhere ever. Where shall I start? Let's look up at the sky. They're moving. Okay? For me, that immediately says, probably best not to follow something when it's moving. Because I'm not going to get to where it is or where it's been. I'll get to where it's going if I follow it, and then going around in circles is what I watch them do. So that, to me, at this point, stars don't seem very useful.
I disagree, because there's 3 factors in exploration: time, actual time, knowledge of time, the celestial orientation, and the magnetics. If you have time perfectly, then you might not need the magnetics at all, because every star moves in an apparent circle, right? So that circle is consistent. If you know the time, then you know exactly where on the circle it is,
You're
thereby
ignoring me.
getting perfect
You're ignoring me
orientation.
completely. I'm saying...
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what you're saying is, no, you're quite happy with the standard maps, mapping, and navigation systems. Okay.
No, you don't need that anymore. You can still go on the map, but then just say, okay.
Driving me mad. Don't
I'm
say
going to
you
assume
don't
there
need
might
them and then
be more
immediately say you
here.
need them. It's just driving me mad. You're giving me a headache.
Sure,
You're
yeah.
giving me a fucking headache. You're saying I don't need the maps, but we can use the maps for blah, blah, blah. Just double speaking. Oh, it's giving me a
No,
headache.
that's not what I'm saying, and I'm not double speak. I don't double speak, Nathan. Don't put baller behavior in my mouth, ever. Don't do that. Yeah?
Okay. You said we don't need the maps. So, okay, let's forget about the maps and how they've been developed and their utilization with the stars. Now, if the next thing you say is, well, let's use the stars and the maps, what do you want me to say?
No, didn't mean that. I might have slipped that through. I mean, abandon the magnetics. That's it. And hey, the maps, whatever you get, you can think of the maps as, wait, there might simply be stuff that's just not put there. What is beyond what the map says? Go there. Physically go there. Euclidean. And use the stars as a guide. Who knows what you're going to end up with?
Well, thank you. Thank you.
A whole
So,
missing column.
thank you. I'm encouraging to think outside the box and ignore that stuff. Your idea of thinking outside the box and ignoring that stuff is to detail specifically using it. Thank you so much.
I'm just giving an example on how to do it. You said the magnetics are a trap. I agree.
Thank you. Right, balloons. Go ahead, 10th. Save me from this. Wish I hadn't brought it up.
I have something to say before.
Go ahead.
Very quickly. I've been looking for it. I can't find it. I thought about this a long time back. It's going to be very brief. What would the Gleason's map look like if all the correct magnetic declination was done in all the places that's on it?
It'd look like the quadrupole map. Have you not seen it? It's part of the debate logo, or used to be on the old Flat Earth debate logo. So all the people along the bottom with 2 dudes either side of a map, that's the quadrupole magnetic map. You know, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and does that have a North Pole center to that map?
It doesn't. It's a quadrupole.
What do you mean?
4 poles.
4?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, but I'm speaking about magnetic declination for. I'm speaking about just the Gleason's map, but magnetic declination done for all the places on the Earth. What would that look like?
But aren't there technically 3 poles? It's just that in the rectangular projection, the North Pole's kind of split up.
Yes, I think Arwen's correct. In a Gleason's projection, it's 3, I think. And in an azimuthal equidistant projection, it's 4. And it looks beautifully balanced on the azimuthal equidistant projection. Just saying, it looks like you'd expect. Like there's the centre at the centre, where you're saying, when I said yes, there is, it's not the centre of one of the poles, but there is a centre because you've got the centre of the four emanating outwards, and it looks harmonious, balanced. There's no other words I can use to describe it. When you see it on a Gleason's projection, it's scrambled eggs. It's a complete mess.
Right.
Well, look, the point I'm making is that the movement of all the places, I just say, just because I'm looking at the Gleason's map that's in front of me, we changed all the places to where they should be in accordance with magnetic declination. What would the map look like then? What would the map?
I answered. I already answered.
Yeah.
It would look like the azimuthal equidistant quadrupole projection, but then you've got all the problems the same as they always ever were. It works from centre out only. So you've got all these distortions in Australia and etc. etc.
Can I?
Yeah,
add
but that's
something?
no. I don't think you're understanding me. Then I'm talking about moving Australia and any part of Australia to where it should be in accordance with. Let's say Sydney is 21 degrees east magnetic declination. So moving Sydney 21 degrees east magnetic declination. Moving all the places to where they would be with magnetic declination done.
Yeah. This was done. This is stuff that people have done in like 2015. I'm just going to express my frustration again. Then I'm just going to give up. So I applaud you, and yeah, others have tried to do that, Brian. However, I really try and stress it. If you were to think, let's ignore that because it's already been used, what else is there to utilise that doesn't involve remapping using magnetic declination to reposition things? Because I'm saying,
I got something.
I'm trying to get us to think outside the box rather than rejig what we've already got.
Yep, I got something.
Go ahead.
We have a technology available these days that was definitely not there 100 years ago to this detail, and that is scanning, right?
LiDAR, yeah, LiDAR.
Scanning of the ocean bottom. The ocean bottom is also a map of the ground of the ocean bottom. And if we can get it accurate enough, then it's just like putting a Euclidean puzzle together and just see how it's going to end up, how the puzzle's going to end up, right?
Yeah, and the military have this.
Every piece of bottom fits next to another piece of bottom.
Yes. The military have this, and they divvy it out in tiny little pieces to the people actually out in the field. So this was Quantum Eraser was here. Is he here? It was him I discussed it with. Yeah, if you could get hold of all of those little maps done by LiDAR scan, what have you got? You've got an actual map of the world.
Yes, and maybe we would have to even fill it up with some things that haven't been done.
Well,
right?
well, that's
The
what I'd be
regions
looking
that
at.
are not
Yeah,
allowed to be-
hold on. That's the bit I want to get to. Yeah, Arwin. So you piece together all of those actual scans of the land below, and when you put them all together, you go, there's a load of gaps. I wonder what's there. And that would be the first place I'd want to go.
I want to know what the Bermuda Triangle really is. What
QE
is
is
in
here.
there?
Just sat down. I'm here.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. I just sat down, man. I just woke up a couple minutes ago.
You'll get the swing of it. We're talking about maps.
So what's up? What's up with maps?
We haven't got any accurate maps. We're just postulating if we ignored the current methods of navigation in terms of its utilization of magnetic fields, then what outside of the box could we utilize to make our way to potentially new lands if there are any?
I can only speak to what I experienced. Obviously, in the infantry, you had to know how to navigate. So I'm very familiar with, compass map navigation. Are you asking me how accurate it is?
No. I'm saying you started it off by saying you had to understand how that type and method of navigation operated, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to know what you're doing. Yeah.
It's standard, right?
You cut off.
It's standard stuff. How to do it with a compass and a map and the stars. It's all standard stuff, right?
Map. protractor, pencil, compass. That's all you need. Pencil, protractor, map, compass, and know how to identify terrain features. Because I wasn't a squid. I wasn't doing it on water. I was on land.
Right. And on a globe, that leads you round and round in circles, doesn't it?
No.
Travel eastward, what would happen?
Oh, if you're talking big picture, see, I was smaller picture.
That's big picture. We're talking about the extremities of the Earth at the moment. That's why it's big picture.
So if you travel, are you saying dead reckoning, or you're following a bearing?
Following a bearing.
Azimuth bearing.
Following magnetic bearings.
Oh, then you're going to go around in a circle.
Right. But that's the standard.
Yep.
So the standard has you going around in circles. So I'm saying, if we just decide that we're going to follow along with that, and we say, okay, well, we've got a finite amount of land on a globe, might be more, but we'll carry on using the standard that has us going around in circles. Why not think outside the box and see what other options might be available? So far, every time I've brought it up, everyone just tells me about their experience in current map making or current cartography or current navigation, etc., etc. Mostly involving magnetic fields.
Right. Yeah.
Well, why?
If you go dead reckoning, you're gonna run into the ice wall.
Are you?
I figured that.
Have you tried that out?
How did that go?
Nah, I surely haven't. I have not.
I won't give you too hard a time. But there's a general impression, epically timed, by the way, that people are under the impression that if you dead reckon, you'll find yourself at an ice wall. I mean, it just seems a bit of a weird coincidence that we've currently got this globe paradigm that gives us a finite amount of land. And then what, should we transition to flat Earth? It'd probably be in our best interest to accept that we're all sealed up with an ice wall. Yeah, I'm just going to accept that off the bat too. Or why not?
I can't comment on the ice wall. Is Anthony here? Why am I always getting feedback?
That's something to do with
Because
you.
I opened my line.
Yeah, I'm here, John.
Yeah, up there, Anthony. He's here. He's the man. He's the ice wall man.
Well, I was waiting for a segue in, but go on, what can I do for you, John?
Say again?
Nothing he can do for you. He wants you to save him from me.
Well, I think that if we all have some kind of understanding of, like, the sun seems to be doing laps around the bullseye of a dartboard in some way or another, and all the directions that are not towards the bullseye are considered to be south. I don't want to say a map, but for the purposes of an illustration, let's go with it for a minute. Then the further away you get from that proximity relationship of the light and the warmth from the sun, it makes sense that the gases of the atmosphere would liquefy and the liquefaction of the gases would become solid. And it makes sense that there might be a barrier that physically stops us from seeing anything as well as walking past it because it just gets too cold. I can see that. It makes logical sense to me.
Well, if you take the...
You off your meds?
If you look... I have to say, in Anthony's defense, if you look at the original, I'm going to keep saying it. I know, right? If you take the cycle of the sun, what the sun appears to do, even if you look at the Gleason's map, it shows that on the 21st of June, there is more sun coverage on the Earth than on the 21st of December. And in the original sun cycle, the sun is said to be at its lowest point in the sky for everywhere on the 21st of December, and its highest point in the sky on the 21st of June. So it makes sense, and I went through this years ago on a presentation I did, it makes sense that we would have the Arctic and the Antarctic being different if you look at the sun cycle and what it does. It makes sense. The sun is lower to the ground on the 21st of December, is at its lowest point. So it's like a flashlight. The flashlight has has
What
less
the hell,
power,
dude?
less heat. Hang on, let me go through it. Less heat.
Go
Right?
through what? What's
But
the point?
Because
John,
we're talking about
he's
stuff.
on to his second step of extrapolation. Anthony got 3. I'm
Extrapo-
sure
what's
Brian
the
can have 3
point?
too.
What? Can somebody tell me the
We can
point?
only
Because I'm
find out
fucking
if we
lost.
let him speak, John.
Look, we're up to
oh my
we're up to it
God.
being a
I'm not
I'm gonna
flashlight.
go to
Let-
sleep.
Look, it's
Make
gonna,
up more stories, why don't everybody?
look, it's
I'm not making up
like a
stories.
flashlight. Carry on, Brian.
Yeah, if you think of a flashlight, right, it'll cover more ground when it's held a little bit higher. When you bring it down a bit closer, it's a bit more warm, maybe on the ground, but it covers less area. So the Arctic is not getting the Antarctic is not getting the same amount of sunlight that the Arctic gets. The Arctic breaks up every year in the summer, and it forms again in the winter. And as well as that, the sun moves faster in the southern summer around through the sky than it does in the northern summer. So it's
I'm not. I don't agree with that.
Okay. Before you get into this triangle dangle, hold on, both of you. Hold on. Based on what you've just extrapolated, 2 steps for Brian, 3 steps for Anthony of extrapolation, and I can see it too with your steps of extrapolation accepted. However, I'm going to ask both of you this question: the effect you described with the sun, is the ground inducing that effect that we see in the sky that we call the sun? Or is the thing we call the sun in the sky inducing that effect onto the ground? Which way round is it? And when you decide, prove it.
It's the sun inducing the effect.
Prove it.
What is the sun?
Because at night time, when there is no sun, the effect is lost.
What is it?
How are you disproving that that's not an effect that the ground is inducing?
Yeah.
Because if it was the ground inducing it, wouldn't the effect still be there when the sun's not there? In other
I
words,
don't
the
know.
warmth.
No idea what it is. But you've got
warmth?
several steps of extrapolation that require it being a physical thing in the sky that's getting faster and going slower and all sorts of other crazy stuff.
Oh no, I never said it was physical.
Not you, Brian.
Yeah, I have.
But the warmth is remaining in the evening. It's still warm, even after the sun is gone.
Oh no, I've piqued Brian's interest. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, this is not like, I mean, I never claimed that I can go out and I can scientifically prove it, but I can show from my location or any location that there seems to be a sun cycle, and I can show ancient buildings that prove this, that were built in connection with that cycle. Like Newgrange in Ireland, every year on the morning of the 21st of December, the light from the sun shines straight into the cavern. And on the 22nd, I think, a bit. But after that, no other time of the year will it do that, because that's its lowest point in the sky. Then it starts to rise. The sun does drop and rise in the sky. From the 21st of December to the 21st of June, it's rising. From June back to December, it's falling. And it is shown to be moving faster in the southern summer than in the northern summer.
Apparently,
not
that's just
actual position.
Apparent, all apparent.
Exactly. Because you still can't trace it to a Euclidean position that you can actually approach, and then the sun is all over me, right?
Which
it's
by
just
extension,
angle towards the horizon that decreases.
You're right. It is all apparent, right? But by extension, you can apply that apparentness of the horizon and everything that's in the sky, the apparentness of what we see, right? You can apply that with the horizon and all the things we see at the horizon. So with Ranci's Blackpool thing, where he said it's the tops of the mountains relative to the top of the tower, that apparent perception that we have, right, is optical, apparent, and not physical, because we're looking through liquid fluid, right? We're looking through air that's moving.
No. We're not looking through liquid. No, we're not.
Not liquid. I did correct myself and say fluid.
Fluid. Get fluid out of your vernacular, because that's just it's open season for gases to be liquids.
Yeah, Anthony.
But also
only
clouds,
only to morons that don't get corrected, right? Because gases and liquids, they do behave as fluids, right?
What about my balloons?
No, I don't know about that. that's just an arbitrary term. So
Anyway,
I've
well,
been
my
sitting
point
here. I
was-
went on mute for about 5 minutes. I still don't know what the hell the point is of this conversation. Can somebody
You
tell me?
segued in Anthony to talk about the ice wall, and then he went off on talking about what the sun was and how it would logically extrapolate to melting the gases, and then he said how the gases would go to the extremities and cool into solids, and then you'd have an ice wall. And then we had a torch from Brian, and the light from the torch is shining and going faster and slower. What's your problem?
And what's
Nathan,
we got a
could have
point
just
out
said
there?
that Nathan, you could have just said that there's an ice wall by logical inference.
There is no logical inference that I can take to suggest there's an ice wall, right? It all requires three steps minimum of, no, 2 for Brian, extrapolation.
I'm just
How about them balloons?
Hang on a minute with your balloons.
He's only been waiting
Hold
patiently
on.
for about 25 minutes.
Hold on to your balloons.
Well,
Go on, Brian.
I just want to say something. We're in danger of not believing anything, right? We have to get into that point. But sometimes
No.
you have to.
No,
you
no,
have
no,
to
no.
step-
Just let him
hang on.
finish. Go on, Brian.
Yeah. You have to speculate. You have to look and say, well, this maybe that does appear to do that. Does not. You have to do that. I mean, we're like, yeah, right. Ice wall, no way. Maybe it is an ice wall. Maybe there's reasons, and maybe some of these things are to do with the sun. I went through it several years ago in a presentation. I mean, I'm giving some base facts here, not facts, but base stuff on it at the moment. But here at the show, on the show, but I mean, when I looked into it, like the globe comes from the model we argue against. That is based off of Kepler's analemma. Kepler's analemma comes from the original sun cycle. He had to back engineer it into the Copernican model.
Yeah,
That's why all. Yeah.
Sure,
We have all
and I
that
get this.
crazy
I get
nonsense.
this. I'm not trying to become some ultra skeptic that suddenly says that the navigation methods that have been used for a very long period of time don't get you to the places that are already logged. But I also see the bigger picture of a mass deception that hinges around this specific thing. That's the area of land that we occupy. So when you go, okay, we've got set in stone methodology for navigating away around, I use that word intentionally, the land that we know and love. You go, okay, what if that isn't serving our best interests? That method. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not being ultra skeptical about it. I'm just saying, potentially, given the deception specifically and its nature about land, wouldn't it be prudent to perhaps think outside the box in terms of every aspect of land and its navigation from this point forward? Yeah, it doesn't mean that I'm suddenly going to say to the guy in the cockpit of my plane, oh, no, don't use your charts. I'm a flat earther and I don't believe in that stuff. No, that would be insane. But it doesn't mean that at this point, rather than just speculating about a bloody ice wall, that's speculation is masturbation. Give me facts. Show me the ice wall. Because why not? And if it's because, oh, well, we'll go around in circles unless we dead reckon, and I assume if I dead reckon I'll hit an ice wall, okay, well, that's nice. What's the next step? Let's go to the ice wall then. Dead reckon to the ice wall and find it. Going south,
The
going...
ice wall lasts forever,
Dead reckon
it could
away...
be partial ice wall. There could be just a giant water slide to some other realm. Who knows what is out there? But we have seen the film footage of an ice wall. So at least at some point there was an ice wall somewhere. How big was it?
Some
We don't
ice,
know.
not an ice wall. Some ice. Right? People keep showing me a bit of ice and going, how big of a stretch is it from somebody showing you a bit of ice, right? Massive potentially, to you've got a 74,000 mile ring around you made of ice. You're not telling me that's a fucking leap, because it is.
Right, exactly. No, but that's my point too. That's my point too. Some of it might be an ice wall. There might be other segments where there isn't an ice wall, where there's a way through.
Yeah, so let's see it. Let's have somebody dead reckon in away from Antarctica, where you've got your photos of your lot of ice, and hit an ice wall, dead reckoning away from it.
Didn't a guy from Norway do that like a decade ago, and he got arrested? Remember, in his own boat secretly, he tried to do that, and then they just picked him up. Like, nope, you're arrested now. Was it Nielsen? I think it was called.
Well, who are the youngest on our team?
I volunteer.
I volunteer, Arwen.
I volunteer.
I love the ocean. I volunteer. I love the ocean.
No, I volunteer Mitchell from Australia. He's
Tony's younger than me.
Closer to Antarctica anyway.
Has nothing to do with youth. It has to do who can cook.
Okay, I can't argue with you there.
But that won't be
I
you,
can
anyway.
cook, unlike you, Tenton.
Get hungry on these long voyages. Can we get to the balloons, please?
Yeah.
I have to say one
Just
last
bring
thing.
plenty of limes. It'll be
Okay.
alright.
Right, we have
What
kept
about-
10th waiting for a very long time, Brian. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I've got your first balloon
Okay.
picture up.
All right. So this happens quite often here because I'm close to wine country. And according to the globe model, the Earth should be turning 1 mile every 4 seconds. If the sun is moving, then the sun is moving 1 mile every 4 seconds. And yet I see these balloons hovering, and there's a much movement. I mean, they kind of go if the wind's up, but the wind's not that up today. And so shouldn't they be moving 1 mile every 4 seconds once they're in the air if the Earth was turning?
Yeah, that's Coriolis effect you're describing. So the globe claims we have 15 degrees an hour deviation, that would be observable deflection, in these balloons as we rotate beneath them on a turning Earth. Anything that's in the inertial reference frame will show this deflection if we're turning beneath them. Now, the very fact that we're not turning beneath them is demonstrated by the fact that they can hover. So we're not turning beneath them, Earth's not spinning.
And just for some of you ballers, there are no jet engines on this thing.
Oh, that's a good point, by the way. If we want real serious exploration, we might want to consider a Zeppelin-like airship instead of a water-based ship, or maybe a dual device that can actually land on water.
Zeppelin's a good idea. They're good and roomy inside. They're very big.
You're still going to need a cook.
Hold on. I'm
Yeah.
going to address 10th Man's ending because it ruined it. So he addressed it to ballers, saying there's no jet engines on it. Okay. So Coriolis effect is only capable of being observed if you are on the turning reference frame. So, Coriolis effect is not the effect observed from the balloon. It's only capable of observation from a turning reference frame. So it's you observing the balloon seem to drift. So if it's got an engine on it, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which direction it's travelling or what latitude it's on. All that matters to have Coriolis effect is that you're turning beneath it. That means you can induce Coriolis effect in almost anything by being on a rotating platform. Simple. So if you watch these balloons from a roundabout, they'll look like they're coming towards you and going away. Coming towards you and going away. That's Coriolis effect. They're not really doing it. They're just hovering, right? But they look like they're coming towards you and then going away. Curving into your vision and then curving out of it. Disappearing and then coming back. That's Coriolis deflection that you're observing in the balloon. The same effect would be true if we were on a turning Earth. We'd be rotating towards them, potentially. Or rotating away from them, depending on which way this photograph was taken from.
Yeah, but what about Anthony's ice wall?
What ice wall?
You can go over it with the airship, right? It shouldn't be a problem. We shouldn't be limited by boats. Maybe there is an ice wall. Well, wouldn't you want to take a peek over it? Without
Can we not
freezing your toes off, you know?
Can we not ascribe it to me? Because I don't want, I do not, what was it that Newton said? Do not ascribe innate gravitation. Do not ascribe innate ice walls to me. Just ascribe it to logically if we've only got the one sun doing laps.
That's one surefire way to absolutely ensure it gets ascribed to you now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I saw Anthony.
Yeah, that's it.
See, didn't take long. There are bastards out there, though, aren't they? And you can, as just a general person, I'm smirking because I get it. You know, you rub your hands together. You're a mate, right? So for me, it's a bit of whimsical glee saying, "Oh well, in that case, I'll ascribe it to you," right?
Yeah.
But that actually happens.
I was just going to say that is exactly what happened with Newton. He said, "Do not ascribe it to me," and then Cavendish did exactly that. Thanks, Cavendish.
Got to give QE props for that, because he goes out of his way to say, I'm not going to call it Newtonian. It's Reverend John Michel, CV Boys, and Cavendish who came up with that concept. It's not Newton. In fact, as we're describing, he really didn't want it ascribed to him in any way, shape, or form. Thought it was silly.
You know,
he had described
I struggle
it,
with
but
it.
the other guys
I struggle
reified.
with it still. I struggle with it still. Sometimes I screw up and forget, and just because I want to go fast, just say Newtonian because everyone knows that. In fact, I was in not a debate discussion last night. I did it 3 times. I stopped and said it's not Newtonian.
So let me just tell you guys about something that's really cool. There's and this is on topic, so just bear with me a sec. There's a channel called Adventures with Purpose, and what he does is he recovers cars out of waterways like reservoirs or ponds or whatever, and sometimes there's bodies in them, and he solves like cold cases. But his most recent video was called "Stolen RX-7 Sports Car Found Underwater 30 Years Later." Right, it's only just come out. Adventures with Purpose, and he's basically got the best demonstration of relative density you're ever going to see. He's got a cameraman underneath the water, connecting all these massive airbags to this car that he wants to recover. And the airbags get filled with gas. And when he fills the airbags with gas, it increases the volume and the pressure inside the gas, and it changes and it applies a force, right? An upward force, not a downward force. And eventually the cars break free of the silt and up they go. And when they get to the surface, he pulls them in with a winch and then basically sticks them on the back of a flatbed. The point is that Rumpus would claim that where there is a force, where there is an acceleration, there is a force. And you can see the acceleration because the car moves, right? It gets pulled upwards. And they would say it's the buoyant force, but in fact, it's inputting air into the bags to make the volume bigger and increase the pressure inside the bag. And you can all see how relative density literally pulls a car off the bed up to the surface so to recover it. But the point is, if you try and describe what he's doing with buoyancy, it's utter nonsense because he's got to argue that the guys filling the bags with air is actually changing the buoyant force and therefore gravity. But you can watch him pour air into the actual container that increases the load. In other words, I'm thinking my egg, and I'm thinking pressure, differential, equalization. We're talking literally a force. And ball earthers would look at this and literally deny it and ignore it and call buoyancy. But I'm watching it and I'm thinking, this is adult version of the egg. It's just not for kids. It's for the adult. And really, if we were to try and explain this to people on our topic, only if you've seen the egg test would you understand really what's going on. But if you haven't seen the egg test and you come to it from a gravity perspective, you just wouldn't understand it. But it's a brilliant application of relative density. It's brilliant. It's called Stolen RX-7 Sports Car Found 30 Years Later. You should go and check it out. It's really, really good.
Cool. With that, though, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Jupiter's panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, becoming a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!